Gonçalo rega a mesa, ele come constantemente, é incrível. De manhã à noite nunca passa para apetite, é insaciável. É verdade, ele engole tortas, bolos, pizzas, massas, batatas fritas e toneladas de arroz. Ele não deixa nada no prato, ele é um verdadeiro ogro sem dúvida. A família dele está preocupada, mas ele não quer saber. Para ele comer é um verdadeiro prazer. Ele só pensa nisso de manhã à noite e ele não consegue parar, mesmo que seu estômago doa. Engole tortas, bolos, pizzas, massas, batatas fritas e toneladas de arroz. Ele não deixa nada no prato, ele é um verdadeiro ogro sem dúvida. Um dia ele vai ao médico porque não se sente bem. O médico diz que ele precisa mudar seus hábitos alimentares. Caso contrário, ele terá sérios problemas de saúde. Engole tortas, bolos, pizzas, massas, batatas fritas e toneladas de arroz. Ele não deixa nada no prato, ele é um verdadeiro ogro sem dúvida. A família dele está preocupada, mas ele não quer saber. Para ele comer é um verdadeiro prazer. Ele só pensa nisso de manhã à noite e ele não consegue parar, mesmo que seu estômago doa. Ele engole e vai ao médico porque não se sente bem. O médico diz que ele precisa mudar seus hábitos alimentares. Caso contrário, ele terá sérios problemas de saúde. Gonçalo segue o conselho do médico. Ele começa a comer alimentos saudáveis e balanceados. Ele se sente muito melhor, está mais feliz do que nunca. Ele finalmente entendeu que precisava mudar seus hábitos. Batatas fritas e toneladas de arroz. Ele não deixa nada no prato, ele é um verdadeiro ogro sem dúvida. Um dia ele vai ao médico porque não se sente bem. O médico diz que ele precisa mudar seus hábitos alimentares. Caso contrário, ele terá sérios problemas de saúde. Gonçalo decide seguir o conselho do médico. Ele começa a comer alimentos saudáveis e balanceados.
Hi guys, welcome back to another live stream. I hope you all had an amazing day. So today we are going to be reacting to the harsh truth. Like always, we do this every single beginning of the week. We always do this. It's something very important to do to keep the peeps, you know, here in Europe with the information that they need, since not a lot of people care about the harsh truth, and they're not well informed about said truth. So like always, we always do this on every single stream. We do this every time. Don't forget to subscribe to Riyadh and Myron Gaines. Again, two amazing YouTubers slash streamers that know how to extract the information, connect the dots, and give you guys the proof how it makes sense. Very, very, very good people that I mean, what can you say? They're just amazing, and it's fucking insane how even all the backlash and not the backlash, more like all the shit they've been through, they still continue talking about the harsh truth. So for me, it's like it's important. They sell truth. They continue staying truthful. So we're gonna react to
now that Trump is in office.
React to these three videos, the most recent ones. When I mean, it's Nick. We had to talk. We have to react to this. It's Nick Fuentes. I I really want to know his opinion when it comes to the war. I do have that same mindset like Myron and Riyadh. That's why I really love reacting to what's when it comes to the war. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna react to this and actually see if my way of thinking of my theory ends up aligning with theirs. And so far it has been aligned with everything. But we'll see if
You know what it is?
They're spending more.
this time it's
US
gonna
military-
be the same. We'll see. So
You know,
I'm very,
know,
very, very, very excited to see
Trump
how it's going to be. We have a couple of videos to react to. Some of them it comes to American politics, so it is important in a way because these days we're in a very globalized world. So what happens in one side of the world tends to have an impact on the rest of the world. But it's America, so I guess I'm gonna leave it for now. But I'm gonna give you guys the most recent updates when it comes to the war. This is glitched. What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna do this. So it's not glitched anymore. But yeah. Very intrigued. Because there's not a lot that happened. The only thing that happened is America and Israel decided to attack Iran, even though there's a ceasefire. So they clearly show they have no faith, no bad faith again. I mean, who would have guessed that they would strike again? Should Hormuz's back closed? I mean, it was very predictable. It was very fucking predictable. Why does this hair stop? Thank you. We also have. Okay, there you go. But yeah, let's see. I'm very intrigued on how Nick is going to give his thoughts when it comes to the war. Very intrigued. Very, 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 very intrigued. So let's put that to full volume for you guys, so you guys can hear. And of course, best quality that I can offer you.
there was some reporting before the MOU that said realistically we got about 4, maybe 6 weeks left before we have a real problem. Like we have a supply problem that the reserves in America, and this is happening even right now. There's some reporting that at Cushing, which is in Oklahoma, where all the oil goes through, that is reaching this dangerously low level, about 19 million barrels. And so it's just getting to the point where we're heading towards this catastrophic energy shortage, which then will just have a ripple effect throughout the entire global economy.
Here we go.
And so I think Trump said it's imperative. We just got to give it up. And ultimately, we ran out of options.
Yeah, we're gonna. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to skip that. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Real quick to the people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, great to be here. It's been a minute, like you said. I think 2023. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's been a few years. But yeah, I host America First on Rumble Monday through Friday, and yeah, it's good to be back. Let's do it.
Yeah,
Let's
come on,
talk
man.
about
One of the best
Iran.
political commentators in America, and he's over here being really humble and stuff like that. We're happy to have you.
Let's go. He's a good guy, bro. He's a very good guy. He understands traditionalism. A very good guy, right there.
So obviously we kind of get right into what's been going on.
Oh, what the heck is
Can you give us a quick summary of
Oh,
what's been
shit,
going on as far
fucking
as like this
algorithm, bro.
MOU?
fucking shitty
Literally,
ass
we're in the middle of
YouTube.
restarting a war in the Middle East. Lebanon is going crazy. There's riots all over the place. You know, former security advisors are getting indicted for all kinds of crazy news today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's funny because I think the last time we talked, we did that debate with Hassan, or not Hassan, Destiny, Zerka, Sneeko.
Yes.
We had the whole panel, and it's funny because even back then we were talking about the clean break memo.
Yes.
And we were talking about how it was in Iraq and Syria, and then everything was pointing towards Iran. And that was even before Trump got elected, too.
Before October 7th, before everything.
Right,
And I remember
right.
it vividly because you were talking about how the United States gets no benefit from being aligned with Israel. And it was a great debate because like a lot of people didn't know that stuff. And now people are kind of seeing like Nick was right the whole time. We don't
Nick
get any
is
benefit
right.
from these guys.
It's not.
Nick was right. Nick was right. Like always, bro.
Nuts. Well, yeah,
Of
because
course.
even back then it wasn't
It kind of makes sense, bro. It's all, the people that tell the truth, let's be honest, they are always right. That's how it works.
really like an
It makes
active
sense.
situation. It wasn't hot yet.
Nobody knew.
Right, and so it was kind of just this like compartmentalized kind of thing. Like it was kind of inert. You know, it was lurking under the surface, but nothing was really going on. And then I think it was literally 3 months later. It was October 7th, and then it's just been off to the races. Gaza, then Lebanon, then Iran, Iran again. And I mean, I guess the big news is that this whole deal is totally falling apart. Whole deal's a sham, and it's funny because, you know, the war started February 28th, and realistically, it only went on for about 5 or 6 weeks. We had a ceasefire in the first week of April. And
Yeah.
I remember ever since April, there's been all this talk about there's going to be a deal, long-term deal, war's over, whatever. And finally then, I don't know if it's a week ago or 2 weeks ago, we get this MOU. They say it's a done deal, signed on the dotted line, war is over, everything's cool now.
And
And when they announced
And as soon as they announced that, Israel and America decided to attack Iran again. Like, it's very predictable, let's be honest. It was very
the
predictable.
MOU, I remember reading through it. We didn't even
Very
get it for a
predictable.
few days. They announced it on a Sunday. We got some rumors about what was in it in the first 24 hours. Finally got it on that Wednesday. And I'm reading through the deal and I'm thinking, this is never going to hold. Because fundamentally, the critical issues never got resolved. And the big ones were the situation in Lebanon, whether there's going to be a ceasefire, whether
Yep.
there's going to be Iran managing the Strait of Hormuz, whether they're going to charge a toll, and then ultimately those root causes of the conflict, the structural issues like the nuclear program and the sanctions regime. And so I'm looking through it and I'm thinking, you know, they're calling it a memorandum of understanding, but it couldn't be a bigger misnomer because there's no understanding. there's no agreement at all. There's the two positions have not been reconciled. They have not made an agreement on any of the core issues. And so really it's a giant misunderstanding. And I remember when it was announced, the Iranians came out first. They were first to the punch in their state-sponsored media, and they said the United States has agreed to give us all this money up front, and we're going to control the strait, and they're going to impose a ceasefire in Lebanon, and basically we got everything we wanted. And Vance came out on the shows the following day, all the morning shows, and he said, that's Iranian propaganda. That's a lie. We didn't agree to that.
That's
Then the
so
deal
bad.
came out, and it was true. We gave them all of those things. And then, of course, the White House is put in this position where they got to come out and say, basically, we didn't agree to what we agreed to. Actually, Iran is not going to impose a toll. They're not going to manage it. It's going to be freedom of navigation. We're not giving them anything until later. And basically, as
you
quickly
agree
as it came
on
together,
what?
it fell apart. And that became obvious, I think it was last weekend. They're supposed to hold these talks in Switzerland, fell apart, came together at the last minute. They sat down and discussed it. They tried to put together this agreement where we're going to implement a ceasefire in Lebanon. There was this reporting mechanism, not just for Lebanon, but also for the Strait to avoid misunderstandings, escalation, the whole deal unraveling. And then over the past week, the U.S. is trying to iron out both of these things, the Strait as well as Lebanon. They've been doing these negotiations at the State Department in D.C. And then literally in just the past 40
Damn, that was loud. I heard like a music. Jesus Christ.
8 hours, the whole thing came
What
undone
the
all over
fuck?
again. And I guess we'll get into now. The big news is that Iran is once again shooting drones at commercial shipping in the Strait. The U.S. has retaliated by bombing the southern coast of Iran along the Strait. And now Iran is claiming they hit U.S. bases or bases hosting U.S. troops in the Middle East. And so you wonder, it's like, once again, how is this meaningfully different from the status quo before the MOU? You know, we have this war. We're bombing them, they're bombing us. Then we have a ceasefire. But during the ceasefire, we're bombing them, they're bombing us. Okay, now we have an MOU. Once again, they're bombing us, we're bombing them. So what meaningfully has changed? And the answer is nothing has
Nothing,
changed
pretty
because the
much.
fundamentals have not changed. Those core issues have not been resolved. And until they are, this is going to keep flaring up.
What do you
So-
think has been the biggest killer of this MOU? If you had to pinpoint one or two things that you think have been the absolute worst.
Number
So
one is
restart it.
Lebanon. That's the biggest thing because, and here's the thing. So the three issues that the MOU deals with, there are sticking points in each of those things. It is the ceasefire in Lebanon. It is whether Iran will take control over the strait and what they do with it, and it's the root causes. But the thing is, those latter two issues, the strait and the root causes, there's a great deal of room for the U.S. to negotiate on both of those things, or to massage and finesse the truth. So, for example, Iran said, well, we're not going to charge a toll. They said it's going to be a fee. We're going to charge an environmental fee, an insurance fee, all this kind of stuff. Now, the White House could, one, just lie, and they could say, oh, that's not happening. They're not charging a toll. They're not charging a fee, because they lie about these things all the time so they can achieve the deal.
Pretty much.
Two, they could just finesse it, and they could say, well, this semantic thing is really a meaningful difference. It isn't a toll. It is a service fee, and that's fine. In other words, there's a lot of room for them to give concessions, and the U.S. unilaterally can do this. Same thing with the root causes. On the nuclear program, we could fundamentally let them have enrichment. We could let them have enrichment with inspections, cameras, the IAEA going in, the rest of it.
That's the thing. Iran had that, and Trump decided to get rid of it. For what reason? You literally had complete surveillance of the uranium over there. So like, it's just retarded though. It's just stupid, dude. Like, we're going back to that shit again.
There's a lot of room for us to give there as well. But the one thing we have no control over is what Israel does in Lebanon.
Yeah.
You know, we and that's the irony. Closest ally, complete dependence on us, and there's literally nothing we can do to get them to behave the way we want. They're going to do what they're going to do. They're going to do what they want. And it's actually imperative for Netanyahu that they don't stop in Lebanon. It's imperative that they don't stop in Lebanon for its own sake, but also
honestly,
in the furtherance of sabotaging the Iran deal itself. That's a goal in and of itself for them, too. And they're both imperative for Netanyahu in particular, but any Israeli government in general, either.
You know, the craziest thing about that is, like, they struck this deal at the peak of the fighting in Lebanon when they were trying to take over that castle where the Crusaders had historically fought, which has, like, a huge strategic benefit of, like, you know, you can see literally the Lebanon border, northern Israel, and then you can obviously see the border. So it's like they were fighting at that point, right when Trump was in France trying to sign this deal. So I was like, man, there's no way Israel's going to get back. And they made it pretty far past the Litani River. So I was like, no way. And then, like you said, they have no incentive for this deal. All of Israel got mad. Even, you know, people were criticizing the Trump administration. It's kind of funny how nobody said it by name, right? Like, no one said Trump. They just like, oh, this is bad. Even Mark Levin and all these other people. The next thing about Trump, they're just like, this deal is bad. So it's like, I was like, there's no way this thing is going to last. But yeah, like I hate to blame it on Israel again, but it's like, that was the point that we couldn't deliver on.
It's unfortunately it's always them. Like, it's horrible to say this, but it's legit. They are the ones stopping, not letting the peace deal actually come through. It's actually insane how it's always them. It's always fucking them on anything and everything. It's fucking insane.
Unfortunately, and what did they do? They completely sabotaged it.
Well, yeah, and it's funny. I said that on my show. I just saw this is one of the clips that's still blowing up on Instagram. As I said, like, they're literally responsible for all the wars in the world. At this point, it's just like undeniable, because it's like, look, Iran, which is allegedly this like regime of religious fanatics and zealots, and the Trump administration, they both want peace. They signed the deal.
Like, it's incredible how people say, yeah, Iran's bad, but they want peace. Trump, they're bad, they want peace. Israel's good, but the other one's actually ruining the peace deal. And at the same time trying to conquer Lebanon. Like, it's just, be honest here, bro. At this point, who's actually the ones that are evil? Like, let's be honest. It's kind of obvious.
They had the handshake, the rest of it. It's Israel that is literally insistent on sabotaging this peace so they can have more war somewhere else. So it's 100% falls on them, and it's so deliberate. And you remember the original ceasefire is in the first week of April. And if you recall, it's so funny, people just have this unbelievably short attention span. We've been, technically speaking, in a ceasefire. Like, nominally, that's where the war is ever since the first week of April. And if you remember the rollout of that ceasefire, Trump had been saying, we will annihilate Iranian civilization. Like, we're going to kill everybody.
Power plant day.
Yeah, power plant day, bridge day. And that was on Easter. Like, hey, happy Easter. Like, we're going to kill everybody.
That's very peaceful.
And it was Easter, and then 48 hours later was Tuesday, and that is when Trump announced in like the late evening He said, we've got this ceasefire. They said, as long as Iran opens the strait, we're going to stop attacking them, and then we'll begin a 2-week negotiation on the bigger issues, a nuclear issue. And literally within 2 hours, Pakistan, which is the broker for the deal, and Iran both came out and they said, no, there's no ceasefire until there's a ceasefire on all fronts in Lebanon, too. That was the first ceasefire in April. And the following day, the U.S. called them liars. The U.S. came out and said, no, Lebanon was never part of it. We never agreed to that. And it was not just Iran, but also Pakistan that said, no, you did agree to a ceasefire in Lebanon. Now, the following day, Israel launched a major airstrike on Lebanon, killed 1,000 more people.
That's fucking
literally the
unacceptable.
following day, when that was the issue in contention, Israel kills 1,000 more people in Lebanon.
Insane.
And Iran comes out and they go, yeah, okay, deal's off. There's no basis to talk. You're in violation of the deal. And then they reclose the strait. Yep. At that time, they had about 29, 30 ships at max going through the strait per day. They shut it right back down by the weekend. And then that is what created the current predicament, which is why we needed the MOU. And it's literally now identical, which is they announced the MOU. Iran says Lebanon's a part of it. We say, no, it's not. Iran says, yes, it is. And then literally every single day, last week, Iran is bombing Lebanon, escalating, not just in the air, but also on the ground.
Yeah.
Invading, expanding the invasion, pushing further. And the message is very clear. It's like they're intentionally sabotaging the deal. So,
Yeah.
It's
No,
very
and it's insane. What do you think drove Trump to actually do this deal in the face of, obviously the embarrassment, the capitulation? The Israeli lobby obviously heavily, pressuring him not to. What do you think actually made him say, you know what, we got to do this MOU, even though I've been trying to delay it, but I got to do it?
It's the oil. It's the oil. It's a strategic petroleum reserve is running out, lowest level since 1983. I think there's 350 million barrels left. That's not a huge supply of oil. And, people don't realize...
That price was still doubled.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm trying to tell people. The price still doubled with all the strategic reserves out there.
Right, and it's not even just ours, but it was this coordination of everybody dumping their strategic reserves all at the same time. China, these other East Asian countries, us. So the price was being artificially kept low because we're just dumping all this oil out there. And there was some reporting before the MOU that said realistically we got about 4, maybe 6 weeks left before we have a real problem. Like we have a supply problem that the reserves in America, and this is happening even right now. There's some reporting that at Cushing, which is in Oklahoma, where all the oil goes through, that
I mean, they've said it many times that it doesn't matter how many patches you put on the fucking goddamn wound that you make, Trump. That was fucking retarded going to war with Iran. It was fucking retarded. Because now you're bleeding. And the wound is much more serious that the patches now are doing nothing. They're bleeding through it. And they do nothing. They literally do nothing. So all those patches that you tried to make to patch up the fucking mistake that you made, they ain't solving your problem, bruh. They ain't solving your problem.
is reaching this dangerously low level, about 19 million barrels. And so it's just getting to the point where we're heading towards this catastrophic energy shortage, which then will just have a ripple effect throughout the entire global economy. And so I think Trump said it's imperative. We just got to give it up. And ultimately, we ran out of options. We ran out of time because of the oil. There were no military cards left to play. There was all this talk
about that, please, because I got in an argument with the idiot the other day about this. I was like, dude, we literally had no more cards to play. Well, we could have took Cargill Island. I'm like, go ahead. You want to talk about how we had no military cards to play?
It's totally insane. I mean, even these guys like Mark Levin and Shapiro, they're out there saying, we need to bomb Cargill Island and we need to do all these things.
That's so dumb.
It's like, we can't even put a destroyer in the strait. The strait is so narrow, it means that it's basically impossible.
Shallow.
Yeah, exactly.
Submarines can't get in there either.
Right. And so you basically can't miss. If an Iranian is launching a drone or a missile at a ship, you literally can't miss. The ships are too slow. The strait is too narrow and shallow. We can't even get in there. Cargill Island is, I think, 12 square kilometers. It's tiny. And you have to know the Iranians would anticipate this. So you start landing some Marines on there, it's going to get ugly.
We're talking about the Marines getting them on the MEUs. I was like, this is a suicide mission if he actually does this. What's going on here? And then the other thing, too, I was trying to explain this. I was like, the only cards they really had left, realistically, was destroying energy infrastructure or a nuclear bomb. That's really all you had left. And if you do either of those, say goodbye to the Gulf states.
Yes.
Like, say goodbye.
Yep,
They're going to destroy
literally.
the desalination plants. No water. They're cooked. Summertime in the Middle East? Over. So I could only imagine, like, I was thinking about this. Imagine the Oval Office every day during the course of this conflict, like from Japan, from Indonesia, all these countries, the Gulf states, Trump, end the war. He must have had an insane amount of international pressure to end this thing. All of Europe. Now they got to buy Russian oil. Like,
Right.
what's going on here?
Yeah, huge international pressure. And you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like we had a set period of time where we had some options before we ran out of oil. It's just that's
Simple
really
as
what
that.
it all comes back to.
Yeah,
is
simple as
the
that.
U.S. really underestimated Iran's ability to close the strait and sustain the closure of the strait basically indefinitely. And you have this period of time where Trump thought we could bomb them into submission. Then it was getting too costly even for us. Bombing them was too costly for us because of how we were burning through the stockpile of interceptors and the damage it was doing to our bases in the Gulf. It's just too many targets. Can't defend all of them. So then we transitioned to the strategy of the bluffing, the economic blockade.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
just hoping there's some way we could trick these guys into a deal. And then, you run out of oil. That's it. It's the end of the rope.
I know Trump is a very difficult person to predict sometimes, etc. But if there's someone that understands his thought process, because you've been spot on with a lot of your analysis, a lot of your predictions, you've been spot on. What do you think his strategy was? Like, let's go to February 27th. Or actually, we can even go back when Netanyahu came the 13th time to America.
Right.
And he sold Trump on the plan. What do you think the plan was? What was he trying to do? What was the strategy? What did he think was going to happen versus what actually happened?
Well, you got to go back to really December, which is Netanyahu comes to Mar-a-Lago, I think December 27th.
For New Year's.
Exactly.
Yes.
And he came there with one intention. It was widely reported at the time. He said, look, we got to hit Iran again. We got to hit the missiles. He said, because Iran is building 300 ballistic missiles per month. And what this is going to do is it's going to make it impossible for us to intervene. And if they build up their missile stockpile, then they will get to work on excavating the highly enriched uranium, the centrifuges. Then it's off to the races. So Netanyahu said, we have to go back in, mow the grass, or defeat them once and for all. Trump goes into Venezuela that first week in 2026, extradites Maduro. It's this masterful operation. No U.S. casualties. We kill 100 of their guys, scoop them up. He's feeling good. Then you have those protests in Iran.
Koop nu Train Plus voor maar €4 per maand en betaal nooit meer dan €5,50 per rit.
Fucking dog
Where they say
shit.
70,000
Apps,
protesters
bro.
were killed.
Like,
It's the most
these ads
violent
are so
clashes
dog
ever.
shit.
It's just the number just kept going up and up.
First it was 20, then 30,
Yeah.
then 40, then now they're saying, 50, 60, 70, yeah.
We've never seen that before, right? They never, October 7th, other things, right? Like, so it's like, think of the 100,000 protesters that were killed. And what we later learned, by the way, is that those protesters in Iran, it wasn't really a spontaneous demonstration. Where were the protests occurring? It was all in western Iran, where it's all the Kurds. And anybody knows what's going on is that the Iraqi Kurdistan, headquartered in Erbil, has basically broken away from the central government in Baghdad. That's where the U.S. still has all its bases. Israel's very aligned with the Iraqi Kurds, and they share a border then with Iran. So there were reports at the time in January that there were men dressed in all black, fully automatic rifles, taking over government buildings, municipal buildings in western Iran. It was later reported about a month later that some of these Kurds were armed by the Israelis and by the CIA to cross over the border. Effectively, it was an invasion. And they were trying to stoke or spark a wider revolution. They were going to kick it off.
While simultaneously crashing.
Well, who would have guessed? Myron predicted exactly what they were doing. I mean, they openly admitted it. So, they openly admitted it, that they did all that shit. So let's be honest as well.
In the Real.
Yeah,
which Bassett
right.
admitted that we crashed the Real too. And he did that with George Soros for years. That's how George Soros became so rich.
Exactly. It's a great point. That is a huge part of what triggered is a big currency collapse and a run on the banks. You're 100% right. And so you had these huge protests going on into the middle of January, and that's when Trump was saying, overthrow the government, and they said that they were in the air, ready to go, ready to bomb Iran, but they just didn't have the aircraft carriers mobilized because they were in Venezuela. So Trump mobilized the fleet, brought the Armada to Iran. There was another round of negotiations in mid-February. Kushner and Witkoff went out there. I believe the negotiations were held in Turkey or Switzerland or something, or Oman. There's a lot of debate about where and when it was going to happen. And basically, the U.S. at the end said, look, you give us everything or else we're coming.
And it's important, too, because me and you talk. It was no enrichment, ballistic missiles neutered to like 300 to 400 kilometers, and then no funding of the proxies.
Right.
That was the original three. Every Zionist comes in and says, no, dude, we just want to destroy their Navy and their Air Force. I was like, dude, no. Now you're shifting the goalposts because you couldn't get what you wanted before. It was no enrichment. But then they're trying to say, like, no, we just didn't want them to have nukes. No, it was zero enrichment. I remember that vividly.
Exactly. Well, and that's always been the sticking point. And that was the ultimatum, as we said. And the ultimatum even went outside the negotiations, because in the negotiations, the Iranians, they won't sit if it's anything other than the nuclear file. They don't even want proxies and missiles on the table. So they say that is outside the bounds of the discussion. So Kushner and Witkoff, because Kushner wasn't even part of the negotiations last year and wasn't part of the first round in February, but he came for this ultimatum and they said, we're not playing around. No enrichment, no proxies, no missiles, no nothing, or else we're coming. The Iranians said, forget it. And then that's when we went to war. And so I think the mindset was basically a combination of exuberance because of the success in Venezuela, as well as maybe overestimating the penchant to the Iranians that they're going to be able to overthrow the government. And then I think the Israelis and Trump himself undersold the ability of Iran to close the strait, their willingness or ability to close the strait in a sustained way.
You know what the most disturbing thing was to me, man? Like, the intelligence community told him, you are not going to be able to effectuate a regime change. These guys are theocrats. This is they're not going to, even if you kill Ali Khamenei, you're not going to get the regime change you want, man. This isn't Venezuela where you can pay off the bodyguards. Like, this is different.
That's what pisses me off the most is, like, bro, your own people of the secret community, the secret information intelligence community told you not to do it, and you still decided to do it. That's what pisses me off the most.
And he went with it anyway. And I don't know what the Mossad told him during that meeting, but he clearly had to rely upon Israeli intelligence, like you said, the exuberance. And the thing that's also the most disturbing is, like, the diplomat guy from Oman. Like, they had met on the 27th, and they had a framework in place where it was almost like a better deal than JCPOA, where they weren't going to stockpile, like, they're going to get rid of sunset clauses, whatever. It was better than what Obama had in place, and they still attacked anyway. Which I'm like, oh wow. And it's like now, you can make the argument that Iran is stronger now than before.
100%. There's no question. And yeah, I think it is this influence of Israel. I mean, Mike Waltz was a national security advisor up until like May last year, and he's an Israeli operative, So these are the people in Central Command. These are the people in the DIA, in the NSA, the rest of it. And you're right. In the buildup to the war, I remember there were a bunch of sources going to Politico and the Washington Post from the military, basically saying regime change isn't going to happen, because that was like the tagline at the time, as Trump said, we want a decisive, definitive confrontation. We want a clean decapitation strike, knock out the regime in one go. They said it would last 4 days.
Yeah.
I don't even remember, but like that first night, they said 4 days. That's as long as it's going to go. And I guess they literally didn't have a plan B. Okay, what if it doesn't work? They close the strait and then they refuse to open it. Okay, now what? And that's literally the question we've been grappling with ever since is, okay, we crossed the Rubicon, you killed the supreme leader, you killed half the regime, you blew up all their stuff, they closed the strait, now what are you going to do? And there's nothing we can do.
You know what kills me the most? When he says, we have more reasonable people. And I'm like, the guy that's in power right now is his son. You killed his baby. You killed his family.
Yeah.
That guy's gonna be like, he's more reasonable. Okay, like it's just insane to me because like they killed all the people that didn't want a nuclear program, and then Tulsi Gabbard goes on and says, oh yeah, they don't. We keep assessing. They have a nuclear bomb. Obviously, she's a DNI. She has a better read on the intel than even the president. She's the one briefing him, and it's just to say to me that like we still went in, right? Because they asked him, I'll never forget, I think Trump was like on the tarmac, like, what do you think about what Tulsi Gabbard said? She doesn't know anything. I was like, that's her DNI. Like, what are you talking about? She's the one that briefs you. Like, what are you talking about, dude? So very clearly relied upon the Israelis and like the Israeli intelligence. And what was I going to say? And then I know you're not a fan of Kent, but like he comes out from the DNI as well, and he's saying the same thing. And I'm like, well, these guys are, have access to some of the most classified information in the country, and they're over here saying like, yeah, this is a problem. Why are we striking? Why are we getting involved in this war? So you know, you got people at very high levels of government that honestly it doesn't benefit them to take this position, right? You like Gabbard had to resign, he had to resign, you know. So I don't know.
Well, what happened with Kent was really interesting. That's like a layer that not a lot of people even remember. But if you recall, I forget what week
he was
we
very
were.
pro-Israel. He was.
He was. But there's like an interesting connection there because I believe it was the middle of March. Had to have been, something like March 12th or 13th or something like that. The first government official to actually come out publicly against the war was David Sachs. David Sachs, who is very close with J.D. Vance, very close with Peter Thiel, very close with Elon. David Sachs is extremely powerful and a connector because it was at David Sachs' house where J.D. Vance hosted a tech fundraiser for Trump in June of 2024. And that is some of the value that Vance brought to the table, which is why he became the vice president. And so Sachs is like the conciliary for Vance, Thiel, Elon, also very tight with Tucker Carlson as well. He's part of that crew. He's a PayPal Mafia guy. And, you know, he's better than some of the other PayPal Mafia Jews. He is a Jew.
Yeah.
But
every time.
And it's literally every fucking time. Like that.
It's actually insane how many times like they are the ones, like it's always like how at this point it's not a fucking coincidence, bro. The fact that it's always them, bro. Like, come on. People have to at a certain point open their fucking eyes and say, bro, how the fuck is it always them? Like, what? Like, how does that make sense?
But so he was the first one to come out. He's the AI czar. And now the thing about that position is because of some statute, you can only have that position for 180 days or something like that before you go.
Because it's not confirmed by the Senate,
Exactly,
right?
exactly. So he was headed towards that time limit expiring. He was on his way out. Then he got put on the Science Council, I think, about a few days later. But he was the first one to come out and say the war in Iran needs to stop immediately. That was on a Saturday. Then it was literally a few days later that Joe Kent published his letter as the head of counterterrorism. The following day, he went on Tucker Carlson and did this big interview. And I said, wait a second. So you got David Sachs, Joe Kent, Tucker. You got this triangulation of people that are now criticizing the war from inside the regime. Kent was backed by Thiel in 2022. When Kent ran for Congress in 22 in Washington's 10th, I think it was, he got money from Peter Thiel because Kent was running in one of those Trump impeachment districts. Back in 2021, there were 10 or 11 House Republicans that voted to impeach Trump. Peter Thiel made it a mission to primary every single one of those people, and Kent was running in one of those districts. Kent was in the CIA. He's a CIA officer, right? So I saw this triangulation of Sachs comes out first, then Kent goes on Tucker. What do these three people have in common? They're all J.D. Vance guys. Now, this war puts Vance in a really bad position because I think everybody saw where this is going to go. It's going to lead to an economic collapse, an energy shock, high inflation, defeat in the midterms.
What was his position pre-war? I heard different stories. Yeah, I heard different stories. Some was like no, some was like hit him hard, but get out of there. What do you think his actual position was?
So they said that Vance did not oppose. Okay. He was in favor of hitting them. If you're going to do it, hit them hard. But he didn't oppose.
Because he talked about them literally on day one of the RNC. I was there. I was like, why is he talking about Iran? Dude, what the fuck? When he first got appointed.
He talked about it twice in 2024. He went to the Quincy Institute and said we need a pro-Israel version of America First where we give Israel everything they need to bomb Iran. And then at the RNC in July.
Punch him in the nose or something like that, if I recall.
Yeah, he said, we can't just do these, little pinprick strikes. We need to hit him really hard. And he volunteered that. It's not like they said, what should we do about Iran? They said, what do you think about foreign policy? He said, we need to hit Iran really hard. So, and then, it's hard to know because Vance has rivals inside the White House who are going to leak to the press to make him look bad about, did he support it? Did he not? So it's sort of unreliable what you hear because these are planted stories. But we know he didn't oppose. When the war started, he disappeared. He faded into the background because he knows when he runs for president in the primary in 27 and 28, they're going to say, war in Iran. What happened there? Energy shock, inflation.
Why happened to new wars, man? And you ran on that.
Exactly. Yeah. And what did you do? Why didn't you oppose it, etc.? And I think that what happened with Sachs, Kent, and Tucker is they are trying to help extricate him from the liability of the conflict, they're going to try and give him an out. And Tucker's got this interesting line. He's been interviewed a few times recently, New York Times, with the British journalist, with Jack Neal, somebody else the other day, and they say, so what do you think about Vance? And Tucker has this habit of saying, oh, well, he's got the hardest position in the world because, we all voted for Trump and placed all our hopes upon him. And, Vance just has to do whatever Trump says. If Trump betrays the voters and takes us to war, Vance's job is to support Trump. So he really has no choice in the matter. Even if he opposes it, it's bad.
No choice.
Well, what can he do? It's just so unfortunate. And what that belies is they don't want him to catch the blame for this next year. And I think now, this is why Vance is throwing himself in front of the peace process. This is why he wants to be the guy in Islamabad. He wants to be the guy at Switzerland that's negotiating the MOU because this is going to be a huge liability, a huge hot potato they're going to have to neutralize in 27 because they're going to be asked okay, Iran war, what did you do?
Completely split the base, dude, this war.
Yes, and his answer is going to need to be something like, well, my job was to support the president. I had no say in the matter. As the vice president, my job is to do what he tells me, but what I did is I brokered the peace, and I was instrumental in ending it and blah, blah. And then the endorsements from Kent, Tucker, and Sachs are going to become critical because all these people that are furious about the war and are leaving the GOP because of it, they're now aligned with Tucker and Kent and saying, oh, these guys are patriots. They're criticizing it. If those guys come around and endorse Vance, it's oh, okay, he's cool.
I see what you're saying.
He can't criticize the war.
They're creating his off-ramp right now is what you're saying.
Yes,
Smart.
They're trying to salvage him. So that that's what's going on there.
So, no, that's very interesting that you say that. So do you think that was kind of the first, Sachs was you know what? Because, obviously he's a big Zionist, right? He benefits from the Iran war, right? Because he loves Israel. But you're saying hey, I still got to protect my guy. I'm going to be the first domino to kind of, hey, this is an issue. We need to get out of this war, etc. And then obviously trickle back. Because people forget that Tucker was one of the main guys that told Trump to put Vance on, wasn't he?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it was Tucker and Elon and Don Jr. Some say Peter Thiel, others deny that. I think those people are liars. I think that Peter Thiel definitely had influence over that.
So much money, and of course he would have put him in, yeah.
There's a lot of rumors. Some say that Peter Thiel basically left politics after 22 because his boyfriend killed himself.
Yeah, of course he killed himself, right? Of course.
Guys, his boyfriend killed himself, threw himself out of out of the 50th floor balcony.
It's damn, bro, you couldn't get a better excuse than that one, man. Just say the Mossad did or something. Damn, come on.
Well, it is interesting because I've heard this story. So Peter Thiel had this boyfriend. Because he's married to a guy, but he had this boyfriend on the side, and the husband wasn't happy about it. And I guess the press is haunting Thiel because Thiel's a big Trump booster. So they are up everybody's ass that's pro-Republican.
And he's a Silicon Valley guy, huge betrayal. What are you doing?
And he's the first mover right-wing guy in Silicon Valley because everybody in Silicon Valley is super liberal.
That's why the endorsement in 24, like you were mentioning, was so huge for Trump, dude. He needed the money.
And even in 16, Thiel was there in 16, which is unbelievable. He gave him money back then.
Trump was people forget that, I guess people forget now, but Trump was facing 4 criminal cases.
Yeah.
2 federal, 2 state. The federal cases were, you had the document case out of South Florida here. That one I think was the worst one. I think he could have easily went to jail for that one, which is ironic. Bolton said, you got to kill those traitors. Now he just got convicted of felony. We could talk about that later, but sorry, continue on. So you're talking about Peter Thiel.
But so the press is all, Peter Thiel's in this war with the press because the press outed him. So then he destroyed Gawker because they outed him as gay. And then years later, they kind of were all over the boyfriend. They were all over the sneaky link or whatever. And, we're not really sure what happened there because there's one story where they say the press drove the boyfriend to suicide because they were harassing him. Because basically what happened is the press got the boyfriend to say things in an interview that Peter Thiel didn't want people to know. And so maybe that would have invited retaliation from Thiel, or maybe that would have gotten him in trouble. There's one story which says that thus the boyfriend was so distraught because of these problems that he killed himself, or some people allege that, it's sort of mysterious. Maybe he was killed to cover up some secrets or something. Who I, honest to God, don't know. But they say that Thiel was basically so despondent about this. He sees it as such a tragedy that he just left politics after 22. And so in 24, he made some public appearances and basically said, I'm done with politics, because they said, your boy is the vice president. What do you think about that? And Thiel said, I'm not really looking at the outcome. I don't really care that much. I'm not involved. And so there are a lot of people around Thiel that say that he's just not in the mix anymore. I'm not sure how much I believe that, though. So that's sort of interesting. But I'm just saying that's what I've heard in that world.
I remember, I think someone asked him about Lavender at, I think it was Oxford or something like that. And he's just like, want to further Israel government. And it's just like, okay, dude, all right, whatever. So I guess we could go right into, let's pull up the thing real fast with Lebanon. We'll show this video real fast of them striking this deal, because we talked about Lebanon and how that was really the only thing that we didn't have control of, and then of course the Israelis had control of it. And what did they do?
Of course.
They completely cooked it. We'll play this clip real quick, and this is them right here. This is Marco Rubio brokering this, and I remember they had a meeting like this a couple months back, if I'm not mistaken, which Rubio also brokered it as well. I mean, this is a big deal. It says right here, Justin, Secretary Rubio just brokered a framework agreement for a peace between Israel and Lebanon right here in D.C. America, Israel, Lebanon are all signatories. Immediate steps include the Israeli military withdrawing from small areas from southern Lebanon that it currently occupies. We could play the clip real quick. You put the audio as well.
God bless Israel. May God bless Lebanon. May God bless the United States of America and all those who pursue peace. Thank you.
Today is that day where I officially get to try.
No, thank you.
They got a woman signing for Lebanon. Cooked. 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 Oh, man. Yeah, cooked.
Dude, I was literally going to say five.
Yeah, it's cooked.
It's very obvious, bro.
So
Very
yeah, what
obvious.
are your thoughts on that, Nick? I mean, obviously with this deal, they're rioting right now in Lebanon. Can we get the video of that, by the way, Mo, if you don't mind? Pull it up. Them rioting in Lebanon. Like literally, they're going, and I think they just drove to the PM's house.
Really?
They just let me get the link. I'll get what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's really interesting because the 14-point MOU specifically says there's a lot of there were a lot of questions about what the MOU specifically said about
we
Lebanon.
can pull it up too as well. I have it.
Because initially, like I said, the Iranians leaked to the press that it's a ceasefire in Lebanon. And I remember on my show, I said, well, first of all, is that true? Second of all, what does a ceasefire in Lebanon look like? Because the Israelis are engaged in an air campaign in Lebanon. They're bombing southern Lebanon, where Hezbollah is forward deployed with artillery and rockets. But Israel's also bombing the capital, Beirut, in central Lebanon, which is where Hezbollah's headquarters is, in the southern suburbs. And so not only are they doing this air campaign in Beirut, but also in southern Lebanon, they also are on the ground in southern Lebanon. They've invaded, too. And so I said, when the MOU first happened, is it a ceasefire? Does that mean no airstrikes in Beirut, but they can keep going in southern Lebanon? Or does it mean no airstrikes altogether? Does it mean no airstrikes and they have to withdraw? Or does it mean just no airstrikes, but they could remain in their current position in southern Lebanon? What exactly does that mean? Well, then we finally got the terms of the agreement, and the terms said national sovereignty and territorial integrity of Lebanon. That is about as expansive of a ceasefire as you can get, because obviously if a country's occupying your territory and bombing you, you don't have territorial integrity, you don't have national sovereignty. So what that means is Israel's got to leave. They got to withdraw, and they got to stop bombing altogether for the most part. So this was the subject of these negotiations in Switzerland last week between the U.S. and Iran. So then the U.S. is going to host these negotiations from last Tuesday until today. It was supposed to be till Thursday, but they extended it a day, between Lebanon and Israel, brokered by Rubio. What's interesting is Rubio gave a statement during these talks, and Rubio said in a press conference, he goes, the terms of the MOU say territorial integrity and sovereignty. He goes, well, it's not territorial integrity when Iran backs Hezbollah in Lebanon. You see?
That's so
he
dumb,
goes,
bro.
because Hezbollah, that's not the armed forces of Lebanon. It's a non-state actor, a militant group operating without the assent of the government in Beirut. So this is what they do. They turn it around and they say, no, Israel doesn't have to withdraw. Iran has to withdraw. Iran is the one violating. So Now, read
Pieces
this
of shit,
14-point
bro.
thing
It's so
with Lebanon
obvious.
that just came out.
Yep.
What it says is Lebanon has to
Pull it up
disarm
real
Hezbollah.
quick. Pull it up for them so you can reference it. Is there a specific one? Make it big so Nick can see it. All right, there we go. Is there a point that you want me to highlight here?
So it says, number 4, Hezbollah and all other non-state armed groups must be fully and verifiably disarmed.
Yep.
That's never going to happen.
Never,
okay?
yeah.
Because Lebanon passed a law under pressure from France to
Why do they always want to create chaos and wars and kill people, bro? I don't get it. It's fucking insane. It's because of them entering Lebanon that the war is going on, and now they're saying, yeah, actually, no, it's because of Hezbollah. No, it's not. You're the ones that are the problem.
U.S. and Israel last
You're
year
just turning it
that said they're
around
going to
so
disarm
you
Hezbollah.
seem like you're the victim, but you're no victim.
And they can't, because Hezbollah is more powerful than the Lebanese armed forces. And so Israel's been insistent that Lebanon do this, and they haven't. And that was actually Israel's pretext to re-invade and violate the ceasefire that's been in place since November 24.
Yep.
So the reason they have this memorandum, this is effectively like passing the ball back to Iran. And what they're effectively saying in this agreement is they're saying, okay, you want a ceasefire in Lebanon? Well, you first. You want Israel to withdraw from the territory south of the Litani River? Well, then Lebanon's going to have to disarm Hezbollah. And if Lebanon doesn't do that, then you're in violation of the deal, and we're not going to hold up our end of the bar. So this is them just kicking the ball back to Iran and saying, oh, okay, you want to play this game about sovereignty and territorial integrity? You're going to have to do these things. And all that does is it just serves as a legal justification to remain in Lebanon and continue to
destroying everything.
violate the MOU. Because the MOU says Israel out. These new terms say, well, Israel doesn't go until all these other conditions are met. Oh, those conditions are met? Well, then we're not leaving. Because it also says Israel is going to remain in the security zone until the threat is neutralized. Well, the threat's never going to be neutralized, so they're never going to leave the security zone. Consequently, the war between Israel and Hezbollah will continue. This ceasefire is... It's funny how the MOU formalized the bullshit ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran. This 14-point plan formalizes the bullshit ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah, which already existed on the same terms.
Yeah.
So it's more the same.
And we could pull up this clip right here. They're not happy about it, obviously, in Lebanon. The last video I got right here. Yeah, here it goes. It says breaking. Scroll up real quick to the Lebanese protesters surround PM Nawaf Salam's office, calling him a Zionist, glorious two-star Syrian flag at the rally. So yeah, obviously the resistance powers are not happy about this. We could hit play real quick and show.
I mean, what do you expect? What do you expect, bro? You're giving in to the Zionists. Like, what do you expect?
If you are listening to this cylinder, I am no longer in this world.
I hate YouTube so
and
fucking
you know,
much,
it's kind of
bro.
crazy because it's like
Fucking
people
YouTube
forget like the
cunt.
Lebanese army is like terrified of Hezbollah because like they have more influence, and it's like half, I think, if I'm not mistaken, of the Lebanese army is Shia. So it's like they're not gonna the military leader, I think he's a Christian guy, the head of the military, but he even said, I'm not gonna try to fight these guys. Like, what are you talking about? And then the other thing too is like why they have so much support is because like they have fought the Israelis. They're the reason why the Israelis have not taken over southern Lebanon. They were the ones, I think, in 2000 they successfully got them out of there, and then Hassan Nasrallah gave like the famous like spiderweb speech. And then like that's why everyone in the Middle East they support Hezbollah. So it's like there's no way that they're ever going to disarm because like they look at it like Israel's going to continue to invade us. If we disarm, they're going to invade and going to take the southern part anyway.
Exactly. Well, Hezbollah is protecting effectively Lebanon from Israel, and the other thing is Israel is actively antagonizing Lebanon with their rhetoric. It's the same stuff that they would do with Iran. I remember last year when we entered negotiations with Iran, the following day Israel came out, Netanyahu came out and said, well, the only deal we will accept is if we blow up their nuclear centrifuges. That's the only deal. That's the only nuclear disarmament we will tolerate. And what this is meant to do is provoke and antagonize the Iranians into thinking we can't trust the U.S., we can't make an agreement without lowering our guard. That's the big concern, is becoming vulnerable. What Israel says about Lebanon is we're going to give them the Gaza treatment. That's literally what their ministers say. They said, what's our plan for Lebanon? Do what we did in Gaza. And what did they do in Gaza? They bombed the shit out of them, and then they invaded along the entire border and established a security perimeter, this like buffer zone, that they have now effectively annexed. And they're doing that so that they can reassure the people of southern Israel that they'll not be invaded by Hamas or attacked by the rockets. It's the same mentality in southern Lebanon, which is, how is Israel going to restore confidence and allow the people of their northern settlements to return to the northern border of Israel? We got to push everyone in Lebanon 10 kilometers north inside their own country and establish that buffer zone. So, the Lebanese are getting bombed in Beirut. They're getting bombed in the southern villages and communities. So they're saying the only thing that's protecting us is 100,000 rockets from Hezbollah, however many fighters they have. So yeah, that's why you got protests, because and the Israelis know that. So they're permanently sabotaging a ceasefire here to sabotage the ceasefire in Iran.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because that's a good point. Let's pull up that 14-point memo, because like, guys, this one kind of like counteracts the first one they signed, which is kind of crazy because you're right about that. We'll go through it real quick. The 14 lines. Can you make it big on mine? Okay, we got here, end the conflict and formally transition toward a cessation of hostilities. Israel withdraw from Lebanon in phases, contingent on evolving security conditions. And obviously, Nick, stop me if you want to comment on any of these. The Lebanese armed forces will progressively assume full responsibility for national security.
Yeah.
They can barely hold the border down, dude. Come on, man. Hezbollah, and this is the big one, Hezbollah and all other non-state armed groups must be fully and verifiably disarmed. That's never going to happen.
Nope.
Israel affirms it has no territorial ambitions in Lebanon and will withdraw once security threats are resolved. It's
always these little things like
Yeah.
once security conditions change. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean that's the ambiguity they're going to use.
Yeah, but the thing is, we all know that as soon as if that ends up happening, we all know they're going to continue. We all know they're going to continue. Because that's their plan. We know this.
Lebanon reaffirms the state's exclusive authority to maintain armed forces and declare war. I mean, that should make them feel better, I guess.
Right.
This one actually concerns me. A U.S.-backed coordination and verification mechanism will oversee implementation. Do you think this means boots on the ground, Nick?
No, I don't think so. I mean, because they talked about this. There's a word they use for it, I forget, but they established this mechanism in Switzerland for the MOU.
Okay.
So I don't think that. I mean, there's already boots on the ground, I believe, defending Israel anyway.
Yeah.
They deployed them last year, so.
Yes, like special forces and stuff like that.
Right.
Yes. A lot of people don't know. Yes. Both parties commit to sovereign, stable Lebanon free from armed groups threatening either side. 9, the U.S. will support and strengthen the Lebanese armed forces with assistance tied to verified progress. That's interesting. Let's see here. 10, the U.S. will lead coordination of international reconstruction, humanitarian aid, and economic recovery efforts. That's probably a big one why they agreed to this as well. They probably want to get some of that aid to rebuild Beirut back up because the Israelis really demolished significant portions of it. 11, Lebanon and U.S. will ensure that aid and reconstruction funds do not reach Hezbollah or other armed groups. Okay.
Yeah.
12, Israel and Lebanon will establish working groups to negotiate a comprehensive peace and security framework. 13, both sides will cease hostile political and legal actions to cooperate on the return of detainees and remains. 14, Israel and Lebanon acknowledge the U.S. role and express appreciation for Donald Trump.
Bruh.
That one is just like, the constant need for Trump to be glazed all the time is kind of crazy, bro.
Bruh.
And Netanyahu knows this. What do you think about the Israeli elections that are coming in? Obviously, he's up for re-election this fall. Big deal. They're in the middle of multiple conflicts. I think Naftali Bennett is going to be the challenger. What do you think about that?
Well, so the elections have to be held on October 27th at the latest. And what they say is that some of the new polling suggests that Netanyahu has lost majority support, or his coalition has. However, the question is going to be whether the opposition can create a viable government. That's always the question. Will they be able to cobble together a majority of seats that are all going to be able to work together to oust him? And that's the question. I don't know if there's going to be any leader that's going to be able to consolidate. Of course, it's heavily dependent on the outcome of all this. If Netanyahu is seen as weak, if he's giving up Lebanon, if Iran is able to normalize relations with the U.S., obviously Netanyahu will be seen as a failure. Because, think about... This is his baby. They see Netanyahu as strong. He's able to defend Israel. His reputation is not fully recovered from October 7th because a lot of Israelis put the blame on him. They say, you're the Likud party. Your job is to be the strong man and protect us. What happened there? That's one. And then two, so now we're in this bid
Do you think he'll let it happen?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Because that's what's justified all this, which is terraforming their periphery in Gaza, West Bank, South Lebanon, Syria, for that matter, Iran, Yemen, this 8-front war, 7-8-front war that they're on. And so...
you were talking about his political ambition. My bad. You were talking about the security and how he's getting hit in Israel.
Right. So it's October 7th, but also then the whole idea was... Never again. How do we prevent October 7th? We're going to eradicate Hamas, eradicate Hezbollah. We're going to decapitate Iran. If none of these things happen, then Israelis are going to say, look at everything we've lost, which is to say we've been isolated in the world. Everyone hates us now. We've been alienated from the U.S. Was it worth it? If we haven't achieved those objectives in Iran, Lebanon, and elsewhere, then the answer is no. If anything, Iran is more powerful. The Hezbollah threat has not been meaningfully dealt with. For that matter, neither has Hamas. And so I think Israelis are going to look at him as basically a failure. And the more that it goes in that direction, the worse his prospects are going to be. So this is why Netanyahu is hell-bent on sabotaging peace here.
I mean, that just makes sense. Let's be honest, it just makes sense. Like... They're using the fact that Hezbollah is in Lebanon to say, hey, they are there and, bro, they are the actual threat because we are attacking because of them. It's actually insane.
Trump himself is holding back the personnel. The personnel are more radical than him. So the personnel, for example, in Homeland Security, they want to do mass deportations. They want a wall. They're furious about what is happening. Trump doesn't want to build the wall anymore, but it's Trump that doesn't want to do it. He says we don't need it anymore. Trump is holding them back. So, before we would say we need to unleash Trump so he can be himself and do what he needs to do. Now it's like the personnel is being held back by him. His incompetence, his lack of follow through. In some cases, he's just betraying the core promises of what, we were all about in 2016. So it's imperative for Israel's grand strategy, their entire playbook, to occupy Lebanon. They can't not do it. It's imperative for them. It is imperative for the United States to open up the strait. Can't not do it, because if we don't have the strait, then we don't have oil. We don't have oil. You don't have an economy. You don't have an economy. You don't have cheap lending. The whole AI house of cards collapses. People don't even realize how much closing the strait affects our economy, because our entire economy is being driven now by AI. It's those AI companies and the companies that fund AI or furnish AI with the compute, with the chips. That's all of our economic growth. It's all being driven by the AI companies, the chip companies, and companies like Google and Microsoft. That's driving all of it. They're driving the real estate. There's not even any commercial building anymore. It's all data centers. So, and AI is run on cheap electricity.
Yeah.
You need cheap energy to have cheap electricity so that it's economical to have all this AI. So if you don't have cheap electricity, it's no longer economical or profitable to build the data centers. So they've actually stopped 50% of all currently in progress and planned data centers.
Oh, wow.
Because the cost of energy is going up.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So it acutely affects the source of our economic growth, which is because AI is all about electricity. It's all just getting as much energy as possible, and that's exactly what we're in, is an energy shortage. But then also, you also realize that these AI companies, they're all financed by borrowing. They're borrowing tons of money to finance the data centers on this hope that AI...
Before we continue, oil prices. I'm going to check them. Nope, we don't care about you, Google. We care about this. How far are we? Did it go up? Did it go down? It's stabilized. At 70. It went up. Oh, it went up. Wait. Okay, so we're at $70, which is pretty good. It's very good. Thank God. And we went very down. But this is what I'm gonna tell you guys. Probably gonna go back to 90 again, unfortunately. And before we continue, I'm gonna get to a cup of water, come back in a second, and a snack maybe or some shit. There you go. Drink a cup of water. Let's continue.
Is going to transform the economy fundamentally. Well, if the money is no longer cheap to borrow, then all these companies go down.
That's why Trump wants to slash rates so badly.
Exactly, because there's no profits. You know, the AI companies, ChatGPT, Claude, Google, like they don't make money. They don't make enough money to make up for all these investments. So what's going to happen is when the cost of energy goes up, it causes inflation everywhere else. When inflation goes up, they need to raise rates to slow down and cool off the economy. You raise interest rates, you make borrowing more expensive. Now it's impossible for this speculative AI bubble to keep growing. So it's not even a conventional energy shock that leads to a recession, which is what always happens in 73, in the 90s, in 2008. Energy shock leads to a contraction. This is really hitting us where it hurts, which is the source of all the GDP growth. It's the AI boom in particular, which is all based on speculation and, again, getting as much energy as possible. So point being, we have to open up the strait.
Yeah.
We need the energy. And so by pitting these two imperatives against each other, it breaks up the coalition because people don't realize it's not
I
the
think
U.S.
they strategically did it, honestly.
I do too.
I think Iran was like, you know what? Let's prove to the world that the United States cannot control Israel, and these guys are a rogue state.
I think it's less that, like red pilling the world, and more causing just a breakdown in the solidarity, because it is a coalition war. People don't realize it's not the U.S. versus Iran. It's really a four-way thing. It's the U.S., Israel, and the GCC. And even within the GCC, there's tension between Qatar and the rest of them, between the UAE and Saudi, especially lately. So it's this huge coalition going against Iran that Iran now wants to break apart and sow division. And this is where Iran is like cutting side deals with Qatar.
Yeah.
They told Qatar, if you don't help the United States carry out strikes, and moreover, if you stop producing LNG, we won't hit you anymore. Because if we don't hit you, then you don't have to like rebuild your infrastructure. And if you don't produce LNG, it puts more pressure on the United States.
I don't think people understand like how badly Qatar got hit. Like I think in March, Iran bombed LNG, which for those that don't know, that's 20% of the world's gas right there, and that was built up to kind of circumvent Russia's influence on gas. So the fact that they destroyed that gas inadvertently forced everybody to go back to Putin and say, "Oh, can we get the cheap gas again from Russia?" And he was able to, bring the prices up, and now they're making money hand over fist, especially with the oil too. So and they said that that's going to be out of commission if we stop the war now for at least a year,
Right.
Even if we stopped it.
Exactly. So, Iran is breaking apart that coalition. And what's more, Israel is really the one that's out for regime change. There's and I always say this on my show, you need to understand the fundamental strategic interest that is driving every country involved. Because for the U.S. and Israel, it's similar but not identical. Israel is pursuing regime change. That's what they want in particular. That's
obvious,
the ultimate goal is they don't want a revolutionary Islamist, Shiite, 12-er theocracy running Iran. That's got to go. They don't want normalization. They don't want peace. They want the regime out. The U.S. does not care. They would prefer it's a different regime, but they're ambivalent. What they really care about is non-proliferation of nuclear weapons. So if we could get no nukes or no enrichment, but keep the Iranian regime, we'd take that deal.
Yeah.
And so what Iran is doing is they're driving a wedge between the U.S. and Israel on the conflict, Lebanon versus the Strait, but also even on that nuclear issue. And if they can divide up the U.S. and Israel can't do regime change alone. They need the United States. So it's actually imperative for Iran to deprive Israel of their ally, the United States, to carry out their goal, which is the regime.
I'm not gonna lie, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I think it's a mixture of both. That makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Regime change.
Yeah,
So I think
that
that's
makes a
maybe
lot of
like a
sense.
subtle 5D chess thing that Iran is doing, because realistically, if Iran really needed the war to end, would they insist upon a ceasefire in Lebanon? I mean, maybe not necessarily, but I think they're throwing that out there because then it puts the U.S. in the position where to get Iran, we have a deal with them. Now we need to put pressure on Israel to uphold the deal. So I think that might be intentional.
And I agree with you on that because these guys have been sanctioned for 50 years. Like to them, it's like, okay, we've already been sanctioned, and you made a great point earlier. For them, it's like they never want to get hit again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the 12-day war was not fun for them. They barely evaded, almost a decapitation strike. Then they got hit again in February. So it's like I think at this point they're just tired of being able to get struck, so they want to completely destroy the United States and Israel's ability to ever hit them again. I think that's why they're like, we'll drag this thing on. We don't care. And I also do think that they're sensitive to the midterms. I think they know that Trump doesn't have as much time as he's letting on, politically. And I think from what like me and you were discussing yesterday, like these midterms might actually be the first time that someone's actually removed.
Right.
I think who are the president? Bill Clinton, Nixon resigned. Nixon knew he was going to be cooked. Trump, and then I'm trying to think, was any other president impeached?
Andrew Johnson was impeached and removed, and Nixon resigned. And Trump was impeached. Clinton was impeached, but Clinton was removed from office.
Okay. But then he get back, but he finished his term, so he actually did.
He got impeached, so he just got indicted.
Yeah.
But he didn't get convicted.
For the false statements.
Right,
yeah.
right.
I did not have sex with that woman. Yeah, dude, that's crazy. And then
Andrew Johnson was removed from office, I don't believe. He was impeached, though.
Yeah. Either way, it's like a very rare thing for it to happen because it requires an enormous amount of votes. Like it's like what you got to have like 2/3 of the Senate, the votes.
Yeah, majority in the House, 2/3 in the Senate.
Which is a lot, to get you out of there. And I think Donald Trump is probably going to be
de vakantiediscounter
The
voor
first
Winter
one.
Deals. Eerste keuze last minutes op vakantiediscounter.be.
You piece of
probably
shit.
the most egregious offender of them all.
He might be the first to be
he might be
removed.
the first to actually get it, man. So I was like, because in my mind, I'm just thinking of like how the Democrats are going to attack him, and just like the kinetic strikes with Hegseth, the Iran war, the ICE
Epstein
raids,
file.
The money, right? You talked about this extensively
Epstein
yesterday.
files,
where
like, there's so much shit.
Wasn't Lutnick's sons like doing some bullshit with with futures or whatever,
Yes.
with the tariffs and everything?
With the tariffs, because they did some deal where if the tariffs were refunded, that they were going to profit from that financially or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
That's
Is
what
the Supreme Court overturned the emergency tariffs, and now they got to be refunded. And I think there's some financial interest then that Howard Lutnick gets because of that.
Yeah.
I don't remember all the details, but the biggest thing is in DHS, where Kristi Noem allegedly is dating Corey Lewandowski, and there was some kind of thing where they're getting favorable contracts through DHS for people that they know is kind of the basic. That's the gist of it. The Wall Street Journal was onto them. They did a big hit piece about it, and I'd even heard about that because I have some friends in DHS, and they would tell me it's just like egregious what's going on, and it's not just there. It's all over the place. Like you
it's
said,
the GIA, bro, Great Britain
the
Intelligence
DOJ,
Agency.
the
you
Department
guys
of
are
Justice.
everywhere.
Oh yeah,
the Great
GIA.
Britain Intelligence Agency.
In the DOJ, they say it's this Russian billionaire named Epstein.
Okay.
Not Epstein, but Epstein, a Russian billionaire. They say he runs the DOJ. This is no one knows this, by the way.
Okay.
But I was told by certain sources that that's like that's like another big scandal waiting to happen. Boris Epstein, Russian billionaire, has huge influence in the DOJ. They say he basically runs it.
Interesting.
Yeah, so this kind of stuff is
What
going on
the
everywhere.
fuck, bro?
And I think that...
Because I remember, for those of you guys that remember when we did the Club Cost,
Yes.
we were talking about this in the party bus, right? Besides us, playing some choice music. I remember we talking about this, like, yeah, they're stealing, like the administration's doing a bunch of BS behind the scenes, and then obviously this was before Kristi Noem resigned. I think this was before Pam Bondi resigned. I think had Bongino left at that point. No, Bongino didn't leave
No,
either
he was
yet.
still there.
He was still there too. So like, there's just so many and you just look at all the people right that are there, and I think Bongino kind of saw the writing on the wall, and he said was like, I got to get out of here, dude. Like,
he did. There were leaks.
Yeah.
Because he was complaining and basically saying, like, I lost everything because he was making millions of dollars. He had a podcast. Like, he had a career. He gave it all up to be in the FBI, and he goes, we can't even do anything.
Yeah.
And
I can understand, and me just putting on like my former agent hat on, like as a deputy director, you're kind of powerless, dude. You can't really, you're the number 2 guy. So it's like, it's really Cash and Pam making all the real decisions.
Right.
And then obviously the Epstein file thing was like really bad.
That was really
like,
bad, yeah.
Both Cash and Bongino were talking about this extensively before getting on. So for like them to have the Epstein debacle, it was like, and then obviously he's going to take a credibility hit because it's like, well, you got to go back to broadcasting after this. What are you going to do? And then like these guys aren't making that much, dude. You're a director. You're probably making somewhere between 170 to 200 some thousand, which that's great money for sure. But like when you're making that much money a month, right? As like someone like a Bongino, that's like, what the hell am I doing here? Right. And obviously, I think his wife was still running the show, but she's not going to be able to pull in the same numbers and everything else like that. So like from his perspective, he was like, I got to get out of here. And then I think he also saw the writing on the wall with all the other crap that was going on, more than likely. So he was like, I got to get out. Because I found it crazy how, like, he only left after a year. But then, like, when I started thinking about it, like, yeah, you don't really have any rope. You can't do anything. You're the, deputy. Cash is the one making the decisions. And even he's not really the boss because Pam Bondi is. And then the other thing about the Epstein files, why, like, it kind of killed him was, and I was saying this forever, the FBI only has a segment of the files. Like, Epstein had a criminal case that was run by the FBI, but he also, we know he was like an intel asset for like for a foreign country. So the CIA is going to have a file, the DEI is going to have a file, NSA, all these different intelligence components are going to have a file on Epstein. Well, Pam Bondi has no power over these guys, and Cash doesn't have any power over these guys. So even if they were to be transparent, and here's everything we got at DOJ, the other intel agencies could say, well, we don't want to share. And then, boom, they take the hit because, most Americans don't know that, like, the government is extremely, bureaucratic and compartmentalized, where it's like one agency might release everything, but another one might say, no, we're not gonna, right? Or the FBI might have information from the CIA, but they can't put it out publicly because it's not their info. And they have to get, like, a third agency rule, like, oh, can I, declassify this? No, you can't. It's ours. So it's like... And again, I'm just like giving different scenarios here, but I could see why it was so difficult. And there's like for Pam, for Cash, and then obviously Bongino, and he was like, I got to get the fuck out of here. And then you add in all the other crap. I mean, because when you said that back in January, that really had me thinking like, what the fuck? And then right after, bam, Bongino gone, Cash Patel, they're talking about firing him. Pam Bondi gone, Kristi Noem gone. Who else?
Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi Gabbard gone.
Joe
Kent. Mike Waltz was already gone, right, with the Signal Gate, I think.
He's still there, though, as the UN ambassador.
Yeah, that was a huge
He'll
demotion.
never leave. Yeah, right? It's so crazy.
Yeah, you go from that security advisor to fucking, like, you're the UN bitch now. Like,
it's insane, yeah. Like, that guy will never, ever, ever get fired. But Tulsi Gabbard, she's got to go, Yeah. And even Pam Bondi, it's funny. I didn't like Pam Bondi. She comes from Florida.
Very incompetent, dude.
Yeah.
I was shocked they made her attorney general. Is insane.
Yeah, well,
Federally.
You know why that is. Susie Wiles brought all these people in. She's the chief of staff. She's from Florida. She's from Ballard. So she brought in Rubio, Waltz, Bondi. These are all Florida creatures. But the thing even about Pam Bondi, she wasn't even actually the worst because a lot of the really MAGA people in DOJ, they said Bondi would actually let the more Trump loyal people do these indictments. They were working on some big indictments, and when Todd Blanche got in, they shut it all down. Like, Blanche is actually worse than as bad as Bondi is, and she's terrible and she fucking sucks. Blanche is even worse. But this is just like a story.
So he came in and shut down
and quashed it. Yeah,
he shut down the indictments against the enemies, or
against some of the Democrat foes. Yeah.
Well, why did he shut it down? I would think
because he's not like a big MAGA guy. Pam Bondi was letting
she was letting it happen.
Yeah, because
gotcha.
I knew people working in Trump admin #1, and what they would say about how the government works in the White House in the admin is basically it comes down to, if two very low-level bureaucrats disagree, it gets kicked up. If those middle-level bureaucrats disagree, it gets kicked up. And it keeps getting kicked up until it gets like cabinet level, and then it goes up to the president. And so it's really about these people that are in kind of like the middle and lower positions. Are they going to be able to have the discretion to do what they need to do? That's really what it comes down to in a lot of these situations. And so someone like Pam Bondi, she was actually doing her job in a sense that she was letting the underlings who are MAGA work on the indictments. And there's actually some good stuff coming down the pike. But then she gets kicked out. She was a little bit more laissez-faire. She wasn't intervening to shut these things down. She wasn't as activist. But now that Blanche is in, he's much more strict about what they're able to do. And he doesn't believe really in that. He doesn't believe in doing all the indictments. So that's gotten a lot slower and basically shut down. Like nothing new's coming with Blanche in charge.
You know what? That makes perfect sense because you think about it. Under Bondi, John Bolton got indicted. Letitia, what's her last
Jackson?
The AG,
James in New York.
Letitia James out of New York got indicted. Comey got hit.
Right.
And then I think they indicted him. It failed, and then they recharged him.
Yeah.
And then Letitia, same thing, because I think the United States attorney out of Virginia or something like that wasn't confirmed
right
or properly, and so they were like, oh well, this indictment's going to be gone, so they're refiling it. So Yeah, I mean that makes sense. That so you're saying Blanche is like way more.
He's worse.
He's like, hey, let's not indict all these people, etc. Let's
Yeah.
not go after them.
Yeah, he's not letting
Is he
them
scared
work
of the
on anything
blowback?
else.
Is he scared of like potential retaliation when they're out of there?
He just doesn't support it from a policy point of view. He's not in favor of going after these people.
Yeah.
So Bondi was letting him go after it, and he shut the whole thing down.
He was
so.
the defense attorney before, wasn't he? He was a government. If I'm not
I don't
mistaken.
know his background.
I think he was. And Brett, can you double check for me real quick? I think he was a part of Trump's like legal team when he was dealing with the document case out of New York when they indicted him the first time. I think he was on his like legal team. Todd Blanche. But like, yeah, so no, because it really got me to thinking. I was like, damn, like all these people are going out. So like, yeah, Cash had the issues that he had, like drinking alcohol too much, partying, taking a jet around, his girlfriend getting a security detail. The Epstein files, Pam Bondi, same thing. And Bongino being the number 2 guy, he was like, I got to get the fuck up out of here. Hexa with the kinetic strikes. I'm trying to think here, Rubio, if they would go after him for anything. I can't think of.
No, you know what's funny? Rubio, I shouldn't even say.
I'm just like thinking of how they're gonna like go after them when.
Well, Rubio's people are the most competent.
Yeah.
And listen.
You're right. Yeah.
I do not support Rubio at all. Not even slightly. I'm not saying, but I'm saying like. This is not me trying to like say anything to promote him. Like if he's the nominee, I would vote Democrat. I would consider that, because he's that bad. However, what is funny about Rubio, so he's Secretary of State. State Department is on lock. Those are the most competent people in DHS is probably the worst. That's like the most our guys, like the most based people are probably in DHS. Like they're maybe the most aligned. And State Department, they got that shit on lock.
They do.
Like they are the most competent. They run it like a tight ship. Rubio, surprisingly, he's a very formidable opponent because he knows what he's doing.
He's a refined politician.
Yes.
I've always said it. Like and I don't think there's any shame in admitting this. He's an extremely refined and good politician. We don't support that. Like we don't like his policies or whatever. He's owned by the Jays and everything else. But I think we can both say so is Netanyahu is a refined politician.
Yeah.
Because I think the one thing that like Netanyahu can do is he can blend. Every time I watch the speeches, I'm like, all this guy does is like make Israel's problems America's problems. We killed these terrorists today, blah, blah, blah. Oh, by the way, they were trying to target you guys too. Like, it's like he's able to always like bring in Israeli issues and somehow make them American issues and show either like what we're doing here benefits you guys as well. And I think that's something that really only he's been able to do. Like, I don't think any other Israeli prime minister has been able to like, use Israel problems and or justify U.S. aid so much as to like we're taking care of the problem for you guys. We're on the front lines. But yeah, I agree with you that like of all them all, Rubio's for sure the most refined politician. Doesn't mean he's good.
I mean, his like staff.
Yeah.
Like people in admin say that State Department, like they're the only ones that know what they're doing. They're competent and they're ideologically aligned with Rubio. Vance too. They say that Vance's people are very competent and effective. But these other people at DOJ, at DHS, and these other departments, I mean, they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah.
And, like, that's so typical. I told people it would be like this because at the end of the day, Trump is just incompetent.
Yeah.
What so many people ascribe to malice, you could easily ascribe it to incompetence. They just don't know what they're doing. It's so classic because, Trump, the first term, everybody said, well, he couldn't get his agenda through because the personnel were terrible. That was the headline all the time.
He had all the swamp creatures with him.
Yes, there's all these different excuses. It was bad advisors, bad personnel. They said, because in 2016, Trump had this website called greatagain.org where they were soliciting people to volunteer to work in his administration from like everywhere, as opposed to these like swamp creature, alumni from the different Republican campaigns or the Bush admin. So they had this website called greatagain.org where they said, send us your resume. You could come and work in the government, be part of the revolution. They didn't use that at all. And of course, then they brought in like Jeb Bush alum, Rubio alum, Cruz alum, and those people all hated Trump. We used to joke in D.C. back in those days, if you had worked for the Trump campaign, it made you less likely to get a job in the Trump White House. They say, oh, you work for the Trump campaign? You're disqualified. We don't want you. Because the people that were running it were like establishment rhino types, And so that was the big excuse. They said, well, why did Trump not pull us out of Syria? Because the generals were lying. They wouldn't carry out the orders. They would lie about the troop totals. And there was some truth to that. But in 24, they said, well, it'll be different this time because, this time the posters are in control. Our guys are going to be in the admin. And it's like you actually have like based people in the administration. You have a lot of them. like the personnel, anyone will tell you there's a lot of people in like National Security Council which were good, and there were people in the Pentagon that were good, and people in DHS that were good. But now Trump himself is holding back the personnel. The personnel are more radical than him. So the personnel, for example, in Homeland Security, they want to do mass deportations. They want a wall. They're fucking furious about what is happening. Trump doesn't want to build the wall anymore.
Yeah.
I have that. I don't want to say how I know that, but it's Trump that doesn't want to do it. He says we don't need it anymore. We have, the military there. We have other means of securing the border. We don't need a wall. Trump is holding them back. So, before we would say the personnel and the advisors are holding, we need to unleash Trump so he can be himself and do what he needs to do. Now it's like the personnel is being held back by him. His incompetence, his lack of follow through. In some cases, he's just betraying the core promises of what we were all about in 2016. So, and I said this in 24, and I knew it was going to happen when he threw Project 2025 under the bus. Remember them?
Yes.
Project
Yes, I do.
2025 at Heritage. It was two things. It was a white paper, a policy, a 93-page white paper where they said this is what we're going to do in every department and agency, how we're going to make America great again. And that's what got the headlines, because people said it's very radical.
The Democrats freaked out when they saw it.
Right.
Like they were, I remember vividly, do you support Project 2025? That was like what everyone was asking during the 24.
Yeah, people forget it was huge.
Big deal.
But then, in addition to that, it was
He denied
also...
it during the debate. Do you support? I think during one of his public debates or interviews, he denied it. Like I don't know.
He said I got nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
And which there's some truth to that. But it was also a personnel database. They put together a database of very Trump loyal, ideologically America First people that they were going to use Schedule F, reclassify a bunch of federal workers, fire them, because a lot of them have these protections. An incoming administration can only hire and fire about 5,000 people. If you reclassify a lot of the workers, you can fire like up to 50,000. And so the idea was we're going to fire 50,000 people. Some of them we're just not even going to replace, but the ones that we do, we're going to replace them with guys that are vetted, guys that are loyal to Trump, loyal to the agenda. And what Trump said in January 23 and then into 24 is he said, no, Project 2025 has no control over that. He said, I want them to work with America First Policy Institute, AFPI, that's like the official MAGA think tank. It's run by Brooke Rollins, who's now the Secretary of Agriculture, and they are the worst. Like, they are the biggest rhinos of all time. America last. Like, they are so establishment, it's not even funny. And Trump basically said, Project 2025 either needs to defer completely to AFPI or they can have no influence. At the end of the day, he disavowed them like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
They got totally pushed out. And that's when I disavowed Trump. Because at that point, it was about June 24, I said it's very clear what direction this is going to go in, and it's going to be just like the first term. A lot of bad personnel, not enough good personnel, but moreover, it's like Trump's judgment is compromised. He's still incompetent. Because really, there was no resistance this time. You remember in 25, it's like the left was defeated. They were eradicated. They were so weak, no ability to resist, and we had the House, Senate, White House, we had Doge. We're moving so fast. So much was possible, and the only reason it was squandered is because they just were incompetent. That's why tariffs didn't happen. That's why the border wall didn't happen. That's why Doge didn't happen. Just wrong people, bad people.
And, it's funny because, you get a lot of heat for not voting, right? And saying, hey, I'm not going to vote, etc. People always forget. I vividly remember when you said, I'm not going to vote unless Trump can promise that we're not going to go to war with Iran. That was like one of your number one things. We need mass deportations and no war with Iran. Those were your 2 things. And
avez-vous déjà goûté la glace Kinder Bueno? Allez-y, goûtez. Tellement bueno.
Dog shit, fucking agree with
it
that.
happened. The war with Iran and no mass deportation. So it's like, people said, you didn't even vote, Nick.
Yeah.
But it's like, I remember when you originally made the announcement, no war with Iran, no fucking war with Iran. I'm going to withhold my vote. And he fucking ended up doing it. And like, for me, I was pissed off. And I think this is what actually fractured the base, made so many people say no. This Iran war is highly unpopular. Even people that that voted for him and supported him, because from my perspective, I voted mostly for foreign policy and then obviously for the immigration. Because I was I agree with you what we were talking about yesterday. Donald Trump is probably one of the only presidents that can actually do deportations because everyone is terrified. And I can say this from my background with working with ICE. The thing that used to always mess us up when we did deportations was interior enforcement because you got to deal with the sanctuary cities, you got to deal with the mayor, you got to deal with the police department. They don't want to help you out. I vividly remember so many times I'd go to Austin, Texas, we'd have arrest warrants for people. Austin PD, we need you to come out and help. They wouldn't come. They wouldn't show up. Even if though it was a felony warrant, they're like, wait, it's immigration related? Nah, we're not helping you. So it was a nightmare to do like interior enforcement. So when I saw Trump actually putting ICE into these cities and doing deportations, I was like, wow, I got to give this guy credit. Because like me from the inside knows how hard it is to do interior enforcement. You know, enforcing at the border is nothing. Like, this is why Democrats have more deportations, because everyone comes in, they catch them, throw them back out. Easy to have more deportations. Like, oh, well, Obama has more deportations than Trump. That doesn't count, buddy. It's because they had to open borders and then they want to come in. But when I saw him doing the interior stuff, I was like, this is good. Like, I supported what he was doing in Minneapolis. Like, Renee Good and Alex Preddy, I was like, don't let this fucking scare you because these are good shoots. Like, you know, look, people lost their life, horrible, but do not commit a felony and impede federal agents. Like, what are you doing? Like, you can't do that. You know, Alex Preddy had a gun on him. The other chick tried to run a guy over. Like, you know, obviously the Democrats were putting an enormous amount of pressure. But it kills me because I noticed that he kind of took his foot off the gas with the mass deportations to open up political leeway for the Iran war.
Right.
And I was like, dude, seriously? Like, that's when I was like you're dropping doing the immigration. The first president that actually has the balls to go in, do interior enforcement, something that I've never seen ever by any administration. You know, using Border Patrol, using ICE, using FBI agents, like shit that I've never seen before. Like, using FBI agents to do immigration is nuts, right? Because, like, they never want to do anything, those guys. They're so fucking lazy, but that's a whole other conversation. So when I saw that, I was like, great, like, we're actually going to get some interior enforcement. Finally, they're going to stop these sanctuary cities, dude. Because, like, I feel like I'm going through PTSD now. Dude, I can't tell you how many times, Nick, like, I would literally be we'd be looking for somebody, we'd ask the state locals to help, and they'd say no. Yeah. Because of fucking sanctuary rules.
It's like that in Chicago.
Insane, dude. Insane. Or we'd have the best. Put a detainer on the guy. You know he's going to be released on this day at this time. They fucking let him out early on purpose so that you can't get him. Like, and the guy is like a murderer, or the guy has like a long criminal history. They let him go because they don't want to be the ones to be like, yeah, we gave him the immigration after. They'll purposely let him out early or not tell you after you put a detainer on him. So it's like, and we couldn't do anything to them. So it's like, you know, it was absolutely insane that they wouldn't comply. And this is happening all across the country. So when Trump finally said, you know what, we're going to go ahead, we're going to do mass deportations, we're going to actually back ICE, we're going to let them go into these cities, we're going to tell the locals, if you don't fucking comply, remember Pam Bondi sued them, if you don't comply, you're going to get sued. But then they completely bailed on it for the fucking Iran war.
Yeah, they just dropped it. And it's sad because they put all the pieces in place to do it. You had the big, beautiful bill, which allocated $80, $90 billion for border enforcement. And it was supposed to be for a wall, for ICE agents, the infrastructure. And they did it. They hired 10,000 ICE agents. They trained the existing ones. Because I was told that the problem is ICE has not done interior enforcement for so long.
Problem. Yes.
That a lot of them aren't trained to do this. Like, they just don't have the skills. So they had to hire a bunch of them, train a bunch of them. Then they bought all these warehouses to detain the immigrants because we don't have that either. And they did that. You know, they bought all the warehouses,
like
trained all the guys.
I saw.
Yeah,
they're trying to like sell them.
Now they're selling them. Now they're selling them.
They didn't even use them.
It's like he could have done it. But, and here's the best part, is the left says Trump is Hitler. But Hitler was a visionary. You know, Hitler, and it's not to like glaze Hitler or whatever, but you recognize that Hitler was like a unique figure in the sense that he was compelled by destiny and a vision, and he was an ideas man. You know, he was called the man against time by some of the esoteric Hitlerists. Like, he's played this like cosmic role in history. Trump, not that guy. Like, Trump is just dumb, and I don't say that flippantly. Like, obviously, he's like a smart guy. He'd have to be smart to be president, but he does not have that political talent. He doesn't have that genius, because what you would have done in that situation is, we're going to go into the sanctuary cities. We're going to arrest and deport everybody. Oh, are Antifa and left-wing protesters interfering? We're going to bring in the National Guard and crush them. And it's like, create the crisis, solve the crisis. That's just like dictatorship 101. That's your Caesar-like figure. Manufacture the crisis that creates a demand for Trump to take over everything. And like, think about like where the country would be if we just kept pushing in that direction. Like Minneapolis. Okay, these Somalians are stealing all the money. The whole country's against this. send in Homeland Investigation, send in DOJ, DHS, Immigration, Customs and Border Patrol. And if these shithead Antifa are firebombing them and shooting them, then bring in the National Guard and crush those people. Put them in prison for 10 years like they did in Texas. They did like a firebomb thing in Texas. They sent a guy to 100 years in prison for doing that.
Yeah.
It's like, and good, like, because these Antifa people, they are the enemy. If you try to enforce the laws, they're going to become terrorists. So put them in jail forever. And then a Democrat can't take them back out. It's like, and then if there's more protests, then crush them too. Like, this is how you get a right-wing takeover of the country. But Trump doesn't have that gene. If it gets bad, he goes, oh, we got to back off.
Yeah.
Oh, if there's protests, oh, we got to back off. Steven, we got to stop doing the deportations. We're going to get killed in the midterms. It's like the midterms. You should even hold the midterms.
Yeah.
Cancel the midterms. You know, what they should have done too in the Senate, get rid of the filibuster. Get rid of the filibuster, pass the SAVE Act. Pass the SAVE Act, have mandatory voter ID. Don't have to worry about the midterms. Get all the Republicans in line to do the redistricting or the what do you call it? Gerrymandering.
Yeah.
To get as many of those seats as possible out of those Republican states. Don't worry about the midterms. You see, this is how you need to be thinking. But it's like, think about all these opportunities that are wasted from COVID and BLM in the first term, which you could have used, to this in the second term. You could nuke the filibuster, do voter ID. You could manufacture a crisis, send in Immigration and National Guard. You could do all these things, but like I said, the team is retarded. Pam Bondi, Kristi Noem, these are fucking idiots, dude. Kristi Noem, she's dressed like a Barbie doll because her husband is into bimbos. Like her husband wants to be one.
She was focusing more on like dressing up as like, you know, one day as an ICE deportation officer, another day as a CBP officer, another day as a Border Patrol agent. You know, she's over here like being fucking, you know, playing dress up. And, you know, and here's the other thing, too, because I noticed when you were saying before, the people that were incompetent, notice how they came from the state government, and then the people that were tend to be a little bit more competent, J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, they were already federal. So, you know, and then you put someone who's like a governor of what, North Dakota or South Dakota, if I'm not mistaken, Kristi Noem, as, you know, the secretary of DHS. Of course she's not going to know what she's doing. And, you know, and the thing also is like, I think the biggest issue was that, like, he stopped doing the mass deportations and he stopped doing the ICE stuff to create like political leeway for himself for Iran, because he knew that the ICE raids were unpopular. So he's like, okay, let me listen to these fucking losers complaining and then like stop that a little bit so I can get more.
I don't even think that's true, because they were talking about winding that down in December, actually.
Okay, so you don't even think the Iran war played a role?
No, I think because the earliest signals, I had been talking about it on my show, the earliest signals were coming in like December. There was like already a trickle.
Back off? Do you think that Renee Good and Alex Preddy?
It was even before that. Because that was in like the first and second week in January. It was before that. I distinctly remember they were saying, you know, we need a refresh on that, a refresh on the policy, change the strategy. That was the kind of talk that was going around
for immigration.
From the Deputy Chief of Staff, Blair, in the White House, from Susie Wiles. Trump went to the congressional retreat in Doral in Florida, right around here. And it was Blair and Trump both came out and they said, yeah, don't use the word mass deportations. We're going to talk not only about, you know, deporting the worst offenders, the worst of the worst.
They moved
it
to criminal aliens.
Right, which is an Obama.
I remember that.
That's an Obama policy.
An Obama
Literally,
policy.
it's an Obama innovation where they say, you know, we're only going to deport the worst of the worst. We're going to basically pick up the murderers that the police arrest that incidentally turn out to be illegal. That's not really a deportation policy, you know? So that had been in the works, and the reason it was is because they just looked at the polling and they said, we're getting killed with Hispanics and we're getting just killed in general, and if we want to win in the midterms, we just got to back off. I think that they thought Iran would be popular.
Okay.
Because they looked at Venezuela, which was very popular, and they thought Iran would go the same way. They didn't think Iran would close the strait. You know, they thought they'd be in there lickety-split. It's over. And I think they were just surprised. And
China will leverage, you know, hey,
right.
we destroyed, we control Venezuela, we control Iran. That's a bunch of your oil right there. And now we got Cuba as well. And that's, you know, which Cuba is known for obviously giving them a bunch of stolen intel. Like Cuba's like the black market of our intel. They steal all our shit and then sell it to our adversaries. So I think that's what the play was like, you know, he wanted to go and meet Ping with some leverage for the China summit. Because I remember, when they supposed to meet?
I got one challenge for you. Try Whisper Flow one time, and I promise you'll understand why I haven't.
Late March, and then obviously the war dragged on, so we had to meet in like May.
They pushed it to May.
Yeah, so I think that's what his goal was, but everything just backfired, dude. Everything has backfired. Nothing has worked. You look at the mass deportations. You look at, obviously, the Epstein files. We got into all this with the...
Yeah.
Because no, it's good, though, because this is all going to be used against them for the impeachment.
Right.
Because that's how we started this conversation, is like, what do you think is going to happen when they impeachment? And now that we're talking about it, like, oh, damn, that's a lot of issues here.
Yeah, and that's what Iran,
Yeah, there's a
Iran
lot,
knows
bro.
that we and Israel are up against a deadline. Netanyahu is up against the October 27th deadline. We're November, so I think it's in their interest to basically push it to the limit. And, that's why they're not in a big rush to make this. Look, if Iran wanted a peace deal, they could have one.
Yeah.
They would come to the table, but we have no leverage. They're not in any rush to do that because they're winning, and they know this is hurting us, and they know that we're on a clock that they are not, an economic clock and a political clock that they really. And you said it earlier. Iran has been under a sanctions regime. We have this little nicky-knack blockade of the sports and exports. They don't care. The IRGC runs that country now. What are the people going to do? Protest? They'll just kill them.
Yeah.
We saw that. What are they going to do if they get mad? They're going to protest? They killed 6 million of them in January.
Yeah, exactly. And the other crazy thing also, with that whole like Hezbollah thing is like, oh yeah, they're over here like killing the protests or whatever. I'm like, like they're going to side with their government over us. Like it's actually, that's nothing that annoyed me. What are your thoughts on like these diaspora, I call them shatards, like these Iranians that live with the stupid lion flag in LA or, Europe or whatever, like, yeah, we want the Shah back. It's like, you guys are kind of out of touch. Like, PBD talks about this shit like all the time, like, oh, the regime and the mullahs. And I'm like, okay, you don't have to like the Ayatollah or whatever, but I would argue that the people now are definitely backing the government more than like, having the Shah come back, because it's like they're dropping bombs on them. Like Trump was talking about, like, we're going to send them back to the Stone Age. Like, oh yeah, they like when we drop bombs on them. That just doesn't make sense. Like, I've seen them like protesting getting bombed, and then they shout, yeah, we're getting attacked. It's like they're like not scared to die almost. So it's like this is a different culture, right? And it's just like whenever people say like, oh yeah, they want us to bomb them or they want us to do a regime change, it's like, I don't know about that one, dude. I don't think they like us too much in Israel.
No, way. And that's the whole thing is Persian society is very insular. They're very suspicious and distrusting of outsiders. And so it does literally create the opposite effect. You drop
water,
bombs.
by the way?
No, I'm all set. Okay. I'm good. But, yeah, you drop bombs on them. I talking. It doesn't. Do you hear me over there? Oh, yeah, you're right over there. Okay. Yeah, no, you drop bombs on them, it's not going to work. I mean, this idea that you're going to bomb them and then they're going to like us more, because that's what Trump said at Mar-a-Lago when they started the war in February 28th. He came out and gave that speech. And it was kind of like a disturbing speech. He did it with like this black curtain. He was all disheveled, had no necktie on. And he comes out and he says, we're going to decimate Iran's military. And when we're finished bombing the shit out of the country, then the Iranian people are going to come out and take the government back. They're going to rise up. And you say, how exactly does that calculation work? You're going to rock their shit, bomb their city. They're going to come out now and support what is basically openly a puppet regime. It doesn't even make sense. But that's kind of the ill-fated logic that we even had in Iraq. Thanks. I'm good. I have a full water here, but thank you. It's ill-fated, That was the idea in Syria. That was the idea in Iraq. It's the idea in all these different countries. So, yeah, so it doesn't work.
Yeah, I got you another one just in case.
Thanks. Now
it's
we
warm
got
in here, guys.
Double.
Now you're double fisting water.
Double fisted up.
H2O is ready.
H2O is ready.
Actually, you know what? We could let's.
I mean, it just makes sense, bro. Like if you punch somebody, that guy that you punch is not gonna like you. Makes sense. They're gonna react not
now
favorably.
that Trump is in office, the culture's totally different. Like what's acceptable and how far right things have moved. And
oh, God damn it. Oh, for fuck's sake. There you go.
I almost wonder how positive that is because of that amnesia. I feel like that's what makes the pendulum go back in the other direction. Because people have kind of gotten acclimated to like the new normal, which is Trumpism and like what's tolerated, and they forget what it was really like.
Oh, dude,
in the 2010s, which it was unbearable because it felt like leftism was just inevitable, and it was just always like more headed with direction.
Special John Bolton is now a felon after pleading guilty to unlawful retention of national defense information. He and his mustache have agreed to a $2.25 million fine, face up to 60 months in prison, and forfeit his pension. Let's play a little bit of it real quick, and then we'll kind of react. So this is, I guess, probably someone I'm assuming at the DOJ, probably U.S. Attorney.
This morning, just moments ago, John Robert Bolton II pled guilty in federal court to the unlawful retention of national defense information. According to the terms of the plea agreement, Mr. Bolton faces a maximum sentence of up to 5 years in prison, followed by a term of up to 3 years of supervised release. He will also pay a fine of $2.25 million and will forfeit his pension under the HIS Act. As National Security Advisor to the President of the United States...
She's going to talk about how he had like all access to some of the most classified stuff. So, what are your thoughts on that? Obviously, John Bolton is like, you want to talk about swamp creature. That is a swamp creature for real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, he's like the archetypal neocon. He's in favor of, and the architect of all these wars. So it's, it's good that they're going after him, but it's just not enough.
He was critical in the Iraq War.
Yeah, he's like the legendary, he's synonymous with neoconservatism, basically. Yeah. He was in the first Trump admin, though. They brought him in May or June 2018.
Why did Trump get rid of him?
I think insubordination.
Okay.
Yeah, because he was going against some of the, he wasn't in favor of the withdrawal from Syria and some of the other stuff. But, they brought Bolton in. Bolton was actually the architect of our Venezuela policy, maximum pressure campaign against Venezuela.
Okay.
Which is what created the refugee crisis, which is why they're all here.
Why they're here, yeah.
Because they
on
basically...
TPS, or temporary protected status.
Yeah, because then Trump did that. They destroyed Venezuela's economy, thinking the country would collapse. All the people fled here, and then one of Trump's last acts as president was to give them TPS so that they could stay here. And then they poured in under Biden. So
a lot of people don't never talk about that.
I said that to Crowder. I don't even think Crowder knew that.
Yeah.
Because they all want to talk about, Biden let in these 12... They never know how the one hand washes the other, because they say Biden let in 12 million people. It was driven by Venezuela. They were maybe 3 to 4 million of those. Why were they leaving? Trump destroyed their economy. Why were they allowed to stay here? Trump gave them TPS. It's Biden didn't repel them, but who drove them here and let him stay, incentivized them to stay? Trump and his guy Bolton, and then Bolton went and ratted on him. Now we're chasing him. This is just like the futility of Trumpism. You hire someone like Bolton, he learns all your secrets, publishes them in a book, and now we're going to chase him. It's like, when are you going to charge Obama? Charge Obama. Didn't Tulsi Gabbard do a press conference last year about how Obama illegally spied on the Trump campaign with the FISA warrants? Whatever happened to that?
Yeah.
But this is governing by press conference, where Trump is going to put out a press release and a press conference, and they're going to make these big pronouncements like she did last year. Well, at DNI, we investigated Obama. He broke the law. Then where's the indictment then? Don't give me a press release. Do it. Put him in jail. Why not? They charge Trump. People say that would be unprecedented. It's not. They went after Trump with how many years were they going to send him up for? Over 100 years?
Oh, dude.
Across these different cases, 116 years?
He was going to be...
And they raided his house, Mar-a-Lago, and now they want, so I want to see Obama go to jail. I want to see Hillary Clinton go to jail.
Yeah,
I want to see Fauci go to jail. What happened to that?
You saw right? So what Tulsi dropped. What's your thoughts on her talking about how Fauci was involved with the whole COVID thing and how he kind of, with the Wuhan.
Yeah, covered up the origins of it. Once again, it's like, show me the money, man. Like, he lied about it, then charge him, then indict him.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I mean, ironically, all the people, maybe not ironic, that's the wrong for it, but Trump is only going after his personal enemies, the people wrote books about him, the people he doesn't, these people like James Comey. How much power does James Comey really have? And symbolically, I mean, what does James Comey really represent?
With the
other
86,
than
which that was so lame. He went after him for that thing with the Instagram post. I get it, because look, a part of me is I understand, because dude, Trump was in a really bad spot. 22, 23. And I even, for me, I remember the case that worried me the most, because at the end of the day, I think me and you both, we might be off with Iran war or whatever, but we like Donald Trump. We thought he's hilarious, whatever. I think he's the most entertaining president of all time. The thing that had me concerned was the classified document case. When they went to Mar-a-Lago and they found all those documents there, and they're like, well, is it classified? Is it not classified? Can he declassify them? And the thing that I was in my head, I was like, no, he's going to be cooked, is because NDI, which is exactly what they got with John Bolton, it doesn't matter how it's classified. If it's military information, it's national defense information, cooked. It doesn't matter what the classification is. So they had him dead to rights. And I knew that this guy, Smith, was not going to let up, right?
Right.
Dorian Smith. So that was the case that I was like, this is bad. The other stuff was like, the Georgia RICO. I think that was just, oh my God, what's her name? The woman, the DA, the district attorney for that county.
I don't remember.
Out of Georgia. Someone's gonna put her name here. She went after Young Thug as well. They made a very similar RICO case against Young Thug and the YSL. She went after Trump for the Georgia RICO with like voter fraud or whatever, and then obviously Washington D.C. for like insurrection. Was it Fannie Willis? Yes, yes. She was like our other attorney. Yes. So she obviously had her political ambitions, but like the South Florida document case, bro, I think was the most dangerous one for sure, and that he would have got found guilty on that one. For sure.
Well, and to me, it's just like, why? I would love nothing more than to see the Obamas get dragged through the mud because they treat Obama like he's a saint. They treat Michelle Obama like she's a saint. And they're criminals.
Very pompous.
Just like the Trumps. So arrogant, so pompous, and so much of their power is in this idea that they represented like a better time. They were the adults in the room, and Obama is a saint, the sainted Obama, so cerebral and so, whatever, mature. And so to see that, and they got their Netflix deal and they're producing movies now, and they had their thing at the library.
Opened up. His library just opened up.
All these criminals. I would love to see nothing more. Trump should have launched a strike on all the former presidents. Should have been like Bush, Clinton, Obama. Wouldn't that have been something? But and that's the kind of shit that we voted for Trump the first time to get.
Yeah.
It's not like these like political victories, but like real accountability. End the wars, put these people in jail. You never get it.
You said. Let me get your take on this. I always thought that like the Obamas were responsible for far more than just like, the political. Like, I think they brought about a very negative cultural change in America.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think the have now with the transgenderism, started with marriage. The BLM that we're dealing with now started with, during the Obama era. Like, a lot of this, like, wokeism that we're dealing with now that's at like a ridiculous level, it started with him.
Yeah.
So I think like they're responsible for a lot of the cultural issues that are like, or just, obviously evolved and become significantly worse. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the Obamas wrecked America. It all originated with them, and people don't even realize Obama was pretty conservative in 2008. He won the state of Indiana. He was against marriage. Do people remember that? He was in favor of like the auto unions. Like, Obama did not run as this race communist progressive, which is what he eventually became. And yeah, you're right. I mean, it started with Trayvon Martin, and they were very pro and all the rest of it. So yeah, it's a huge part of the problem. Sam Francis, shortly before he died, he basically said once Obama won the 2012 election, like, America's over. That was it. So yeah, and they need to be held accountable for that. But you're never going to see it. That's what Trump should have done. But no way.
Yeah, and I think for Trump, it's just been more about like competing against him, like trying to get a better deal, trying to be a better president. I think what it is. I think was it 2011 when they had the White House Correspondents' Dinner. They say all the time that was when like Trump said, "I'm going to run and I'm going to go against this guy."
Was awesome.
He roasted him the whole night. Like, he was just making fun of him. And I think that was the night that they were actually getting Bin Laden. I think it was right around that night that he was making fun of Trump, and they were running the operation for getting Bin Laden. And I mean, I don't know if that's the exactly thing, but a lot of people say like that's kind of when Trump said, "I'm going to run and get this guy."
Yeah, that was awesome. That you ever see that video where he's just sitting there stewing?
Oh yeah, he's so pissed.
Obama goes, "I thought he was going to run as a joke."
Yeah.
Or no, that was Seth Meyers. Obama said something like,
so see if you can pull it up real quick, guys.
Oh, that's
like
so good.
White House Correspondents' Dinner, like 2011. And yeah, he's just like making fun of Trump. And he's like just like, cooking him the whole time, and he was pissed. Sorry.
Yeah, he said something like, Trump has to make these decisions like, are we going to fire Meatloaf or Gary Busey? Those are the decisions keep me up at night.
Yeah.
And he's just totally making fun of Trump. And you see Trump is like seething.
Yeah.
And honestly, Trump will always have aura for that.
Yeah.
This idea that they're just like, that Obama made fun of him, so his vengeance was to like become the president. And, like, insane. That's insane.
A lot of people don't
aura.
know that. Like, that's a big part of the reason
you
why
make fun of me? Okay. I'll take over the world.
And he won.
He won.
He
Yeah.
won. Like, I remember when he won, I was so fun. Like, no one thought he was going to win.
Yeah.
In 2016, Hillary had all these, like, I think she had, like, a book ready and, like, the newspaper was ready, whatever, magazines. And it's like, she lost. And she was like, what the f? Like, no one thought he was going to win. I even think with him, he was even surprised, like, oh, won. I got to be president now.
Yeah,
What the f? do I
that's
gotta
what
do?
they say, you know, that he didn't even think he was going to win. Man.
Pull it up real quick. This shit's hilarious. Like, yeah, because I'm almost certain this is when, like, when they were going to get Osama. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is definitely it.
Is here tonight. Now, I know that he's taken some flack lately, but no one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing? What really happened in Roswell? And where are Biggie and Tupac? All kidding aside, obviously we all know about your credentials and breadth of experience. For example, no, seriously, just recently in an episode of Celebrity Apprentice, at the steakhouse, the men's cooking team did not impress the judges from Omaha Steaks. And there was a lot of blame to go around, but you, Mr. Trump, recognized that the real problem was a lack of leadership. And so ultimately you didn't blame Little John or Meatloaf.
Yeah, he's seeing it.
You fired Gary Busey. And these are the kind of decisions that would keep me up at night. Well handled, sir. Well handled. Say what you will about Mr. Trump. He certainly would bring some change to the White House. Let's see what we've got up there. Donald Trump
He's not laughing at all.
is here tonight. Now I know that
he had the same exact face the whole time, just like.
Yeah, no,
you know?
not laughing at all,
Yeah.
which is so, because he hated Obama. He
Yeah.
thinks Obama's a punk.
Yeah, and
You
not only
know?
that, you know, now I'm remembering why Obama went so viciously at him. Trump would always say, "Show us your birth certificate."
The birther thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Trump was teasing a run in 2012.
Yeah.
And that's how he got in the news cycle, saying Obama wasn't born here. And that's what made and what's funny, too, about that is that the Clintons created that. When the Clintons run against Obama in the 2008 primary, that's where that came from.
Oh, that he was born in Kenya and he can't even be president.
Yeah. That's a big reason why Hillary Clinton didn't get in the cabinet until later, because Michelle Obama in particular had this big grudge. I think it might have even been like Sidney Blumenthal or like somebody who was involved in cooking that one up. There's like a lot of like Democrat bad blood because it originated with the Clintons because they're vicious.
Oh man,
yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, because he beat her out in the primary, and but that you know these new school guys, these nephews, they don't even remember that. They don't remember the birther thing. They don't remember you know Trump's because you know back in those days it was super viral in the early internet when Trump said Obama wasn't born here.
Oh yeah,
so Obama's hated him, and then they him on the White House thing.
Like there was a couple things that Trump would viciously attack him on. He would attack him on the birth certificate. He shouldn't be president, and then he would also attack him a lot on the Middle Eastern foreign policy.
Yeah, Benghazi.
He'd always say, "Oh yeah, the Benghazi failure, that was a big one." And then also he'd say, "Obama's going to drag us into a war with Iran.
Right.
This deal just stinks." You know, which is true. Like people say all the time. Well, Trump has always been critical of the Iran deal. He's always been hard on Iran. True. But a lot of his tweets were, "We don't want war with Iran, and Obama's going to get us into a war with Iran."
Right.
And then fast forward, 15 years later, and he's the one getting us into war with Iran. And it's just like, what the f is going on?
So awful though, like that, because that clip was funny, but then to like, you know, people juxtapose that clip with like Trump being inaugurated in 2016 and Obama sitting in the audience. It's just like that is actually legendary, and that's why we love Trump, or did.
Can you describe? Because I don't think people understand. Like people might be like, "Oh, well, Myron, why is that such a big deal?" Like, can you tell them like how much Trump hates getting made fun of? Like,
Yeah, I mean, you know, he's obviously got a huge ego.
Yeah.
Very fragile ego. So that stuff really does get to him. But, I don't know. I think that's overstated how much that really impacted it. Yeah, because, he was talking about running for president for like 30 years. He was going to run for the Reform Party nomination, I think, in 2000. He did actually something in New Hampshire, I think in 1992 or 96, if I'm not mistaken. They set up some because, back in 16 when he was originally running, I was like a big Trump guy and knew everything. Yeah, so he did something in New Hampshire teasing a Republican run in like the 90s. He did the Reform, flirted with the Reform Party run in 2000. That's why he called Buchanan a Hitler lover.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. Because Buchanan was one of the first people to be a little bit critical of the of our favorite dreidel spinners, right?
Yeah, 92. And yeah, so Trump, he had been flirting with it. It's in the 88 convention, the Republican I think in 88 they were asking him about it. So he's wanted to be president forever. It's just that to him, I think he always saw that as the ultimate legacy, is he wanted to go from what his father was doing, which was apartments in Queens, to the Grand Hyatt Hotel. And then he wanted the Trump Tower. And then, it was the game show, the celebrity thing. And then I think ultimately he always wanted to be the boss of the country, so but to me he's just sort of a petty tyrant. He doesn't have that political genius that a Hitler had or a Joseph Stalin had. He doesn't have that talent. He's just sort of like a petty tyrant.
Yeah, because it's he's because there's obviously business elements of a business mindset that will be great as being a political leader, but at the same time there's things there that you might not necessarily think about, right? Because you have to be fairly cerebral and tactical with some of the things that you do politically that he, might not be as refined.
He's not an idealist.
Yeah.
It's so that's why he was never going to be the guy. But that video is so funny. It almost makes you remember why it's so interesting, because when you contrast the Trump of 2016 from now, we really forget what it was like.
Yeah.
It's been so long and so much has happened, and people have grown up under Trumpism that we've lost touch with what it was really like in 2016. Not only what it was like with Trumpism in its ascendancy, but also what it was like with the left. I feel like a lot of these younger kids, especially now, kids that are 18 now, or kids that grew up under Trump, they never knew the Obama years.
Yeah.
It's a different generation.
Clinton years. I remember the Clinton years vividly, as a kid. That's why Trump was so shocking to because I'm 36, I'm old as hell. It's so shocking because I was I remember when presidents were super proper and nice and very presidential, they would say, refined. So this guy comes in and says, we're gonna build a wall.
Yeah.
And Mexico's gonna pay for it. It was unheard of. What the going? This guy, we're gonna ban the Muslim countries. I was oh this guy's nuts, but it's hilarious. So you have I'll never forget this. Obama and Mitt Romney debating in 2011, 2012 for the presidential election. They're all polite, complimenting each other. Even when Obama ran against McCain, I remember this old lady, well, isn't Obama a Muslim? And he was no, he's not a Muslim. He's defending him and shit. That would never happen nowadays. It's they would just bash each other. So it completely went from very posh, boring, politics to now it's blood sport, right? Trump is over here saying they're eating the cats and dogs during the Kamala Harris debate. It's it changed into entertainment almost. So
yeah, well, and not only that, but
hilarious.
The younger people, they just don't remember what it was like in the early 2010s. It was so liberal and so woke. They just forget the texture of life. Now that Trump is in office, the culture's totally different, what's acceptable and how far right things have moved. And I almost wonder how positive that is because of that amnesia. I feel that's what makes the pendulum go back in the other direction, because people have kind of gotten acclimated to the new normal, which is Trumpism and what's tolerated, and they forget what it was really like in the 2010s, which it was unbearable because it felt like leftism was just inevitable. Everything was going more left forever. You were always going to be surprised about, at first it was the gays, then it was the and everyone thought it was going to pedophilia, and it felt like that kind of momentum.
There's a huge push for interracial marriage too.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've noticed, when Obama came in, there was a huge push for interracial relationships. Every Netflix show or every TV show, there'd be interracial couples all the time. It was a thing.
Well, and it was just always more or diversity more. It was always going in that direction. And what, to his credit, what people don't maybe on our side give Trump enough credit for is he totally arrested that trend and made it move in the other direction.
Yeah.
And things are changing. Because, Elon Musk being the most powerful man in the world and being, low-key a white nationalist.
Yeah.
That's kind of, you think about that. And, even these Tesla drivers, they're getting flipped off all the time. People drive Teslas and liberals vandalize the cars, flip them off because they're the guy that runs the #1 electric U.S. automaker is a fascist. It's a white nationalist.
Yeah.
Well, and kind of just objectively is in many ways. And you go, in broad strokes, things have gotten better and we should work to maintain and push further in that direction.
Forget that when Trump first came in, they were firebombing Tesla dealerships.
Yeah.
They were legitimately firebombing them, throwing Molotov cocktails, etc. A bunch of people got arrested for terrorism for doing that.
That was crazy.
In early 25. So when Trump came in, so I was like, oh shit. So, but no, it's just crazy times, man. Oh, okay, let's go to the war. We went over on a whole thing tangent with the impeachment and everything else, but yeah, no, absolutely insane.
Time to react to Riyadh now, but before I go into Riyadh's part, I'm gonna go and get a cup of water. Come back in a second. Gonna go and drink some water. Good. Let's continue. Here we go. You can fuck off. You can fuck off. You can fuck off. Oh, look. Can you give me the video, please? I mean, if you want to play these games, let's play these games, I guess. I'm the type of person that doesn't give a fuck, so... You want to play these videos? You want to play? Let's play. Yeah, let's continue playing. It's great. I love to be able to watch the video, YouTube. Not this algorithm. Non-stop shitty ads. Not even ads that are just like, oh, you like this? Here. No, it's complete and utter shite. Stuff that has nothing to do with you. Like Celsius, for example. I don't drink energy drinks at all. But no, don't even buy them. Yeah, but let's give you the ad. Because we don't care. Hey, you know what I'm gonna do? Which one is it? Or is it this one? Yep. Boom. You can suck my fucking dick. You can suck my fucking dick. It's still good, YouTube. I love YouTube.
You know what it is? Some of these guys
Yeah,
start
fuck
out with
you,
the
YouTube.
ideological
Fuck
base,
you.
like,
Fuck
oh, okay,
you.
Islam's bad, Islam is terrorist, whatever. They start out with the base, but then if they were to ever be converted to the right side, I mean, how many guys have started out with the anti-Islam rhetoric and now they're look at Megyn Kelly, look at Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
All of these guys started out with the whole war on terror, like 2003 narrative, but now they've converted. I feel like the only guys that are stagnant in the first position rather than the latter are those that have been infiltrated with the donation money. And so that's what you see. You do see Jake Lang. He's doing the whole Quran burning, Bible bacon thing, but then there's a picture of him like kissing the wall. And it's like, oh, okay. And that's what the salivate at. That's what it salivates, is somebody who's anti-Islam. You take that guy and you spin him for your own purpose. It's very opportunistic, because being anti-Islam politically is synonymous with the support of Islam if you cannot distinguish the difference in the Middle East. See, there's some guys that are anti-Islam just because they don't like Islam, whatever. I suppose that's their prerogative, but more often than not, people try to group the anti-Islam with this like terroristic ideology, like the Quran has the semblance of terrorism, which motivates their thought process. But those are the dangerous talking points, because that serves this entity and that's what they want. So they make it, you have to be able to distinguish somebody who's just like apologetic or like into the theology, like whatever, they're just not going to like Islam for their own reasons, and that's a given. But when they try to point towards Islamic terrorism, the IRGC and all these Muslim countries funding terror and the proxy groups, and it's like, now you're using the talking points, and that's the distinction that you have to be very privy to, because there's a lot of guys that come off the top of my head now, I know they're getting paid, versus other guys it's like, I know they just don't like Islam, right? So you do draw out that distinction, but of course with the whole like political anti-Islam narrative, that's way more popular. It's way more popular. So you can't give it any weight. Even if you don't like Islam, it serves your best interest to not go against it, because you are serving the adversary's interests. And I was like, easy for you to say as a Muslim, easy for you to say. It's true though. It really is true. Like, don't wait. How much does Nick is Catholic? How much does he talk about Islam? Really rarely, only when he was going back and forth with you, but really rarely. It's because he understands what's important, and he knows if he goes against Islam all day long, he will inadvertently be serving their interests. It's also irrelevant. Yeah. Muslims are like 1.3% of the United States. Muslims don't make up any sort of threatening majority of the United States. It's a fact. And so like if somebody's intelligent, they will immediately discern that difference and tell you, hey, wait, yeah, maybe I don't like Islam either, but that's actually not the problem. You know what I mean? So I wish I saw more of that. There's a shortage of that.
Yes. Yeah, Alex Jones, Dan Bilzerian and Nick did the same thing. Alex Jones came in, it's the Muslims. And they're both like, actually, no, it's not. That's stupid. And you're a boomer. These are George Bush talking points. The best thing you could do to fight back against this for the Muslims is use your character. What defeats this propaganda, we can yap a lot and it's effective in some sense. But you notice, when you listen to Kufar speak, or the people that don't know, they're like, wait, Muslims aren't terrorists. I know a Muslim guy at work and he's actually a nice guy. Oh, wait, Muslims aren't angry. I saw them praying and it seems really peaceful. Your character goes so much further than anything you could really say, the way you conduct yourself. And I was trying to tell black people who are getting so, cortisol spiking over this thing, it's like character is what people look at. You could talk about this and say it's offensive, but people are going to look at the way you act. So if you start advocating for violence and freaking out and throwing chairs in Chipotle, it's like people remember this, and this is how they assess who you are and what you believe in. If you conduct yourself as a gentleman, Malcolm X is the perfect example. He puts on a suit. He stops saying the N-word. He's no longer a drug dealer and a pimp. He is transcended. He's become somebody who's articulate, who's smart, who's a leader, who knows how to act in public, who can speak properly, who can interact with different races and different people. People look at this and their character goes much further. Muhammad Ali, same time, his name is Muhammad Ali, but they see the way he talks. And look at the way he talked back then. He was speaking in a poetic way. You don't see this anymore from the black community. I mean, people might get mad when you say this, but Muhammad Ali had a way with words that resonates with people. And even though his name is Muhammad Ali, today people are going to cortisol spike just about that. They remember his character, where he says Allah is the greatest, or he has a matchbox in his pocket because he remembers how he's going to burn if he goes to hell, and his speeches after the fights. This is what sticks with people. Your character goes much further. So even though there's rage baiters, even though there's people that are trying to piss you off with a pig bacon on themselves, just hold yourself to a higher standard and you win.
Precisely.
If you lower yourself and argue, this is what I wish black people understood. It's like when your girl is chipping out at you and she's freaking out, why this, why that? If you act, and Myra knows better than anybody, if you go, no this, no that, you know what you've now done? You've validated her stupid argument. She's emotional, and if you act with the same level of emotion, you have now subconsciously told her, this is an okay way to act. You are correct to feel this way. When instead, if you go stone-faced stoic, no, you're wrong. She freaks out. Eventually, she's going to be like, okay, yeah, I was wrong. So when people are in public and Chud the Builder is there trying to get a rise out of you when he's chimping out, because he was, and you out in response, you are validating him as a threat. You are turning him into somebody serious. You are saying that this guy should be considered. We should listen to him, when in fact, he's a rage baiter. This stuff is stupid.
No, that's a good point. Sorry guys, I'm very tired. But that's a good point. Wow, that is actually... Yeah, okay. Yeah, wow, I don't know what to say. It's just, that's a good point. That's all I can say. By you acting the way you act is gonna confirm that the way she's acting is good. And like, she can do that. Wow. Did not thought of that. But it makes sense,
Don't give it the energy that they're looking for because you're lowering yourself to that standard. When Tommy Robinson is being a you gotta tell him he's a and act better. This is how you convince people.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I was saying on your stream. I was talking about Black Excellence, Malcolm X, and look at how Malcolm X's intelligence overrided how extreme he was. Because he had an extreme ideology. A lot would quantify his ideology as extreme, but how eloquent and articulate he was, it shadowed everything else, and people just looked at him as an intellectual. And that shows you how far being intellectual and actually sharing meaningful conversation goes. That's why I said when the whole Jake Lang thing broke out a few months ago, I went on stream by myself and I said this, my brother wasn't on, I was filling in for him. I said, this is exactly what you must ignore. This is the perfect time to seize the opportunity of being the bigger person, because the average American will look at that and go, what the fuck's wrong with this Jake guy? Why is he doing that? But then when the Muslims, the Muslims start tweaking and, like you said, chimping out, then it validates it. So I 100% agree. You know, no one's going to open a Quran. You are a Quran. You are a Quran to somebody who's not Muslim. That's what Khabib Nurmagomedov said. And look how he changed the modern day perception of Islam. A lot of people saw how Khabib acted against Conor McGregor and all that stuff, and he didn't chimp out. He stayed calm. He said, hey, I'm going to smash this guy, alhamdulillah. And people went, what?
He chipped out. Dude, he flew like an eagle over the octagon. Which, it was like it was a valid...
It was after the fact. But,
yeah.
But what I'm saying, leading up to the fight, he kept it... Go ahead, that's true. He kept it cool, and he didn't respond to the bait. And people went, wow, Muslims are calm. Wait, was everything I was told my whole life about Islam a lie? And it made people start questioning. So you're completely right. Yeah, he did out after the fight, though. Bro hopped the octagon. But I mean, Conor really violated. He posted a picture of his wife with a burqa and said towel head. He charged him up. Like he really did.
No, the people were threatening him directly. Dylan Dennis and the stuff. There's an argument there.
It was Dylan
That's
Dennis
probably the most
that.
famous out of all time. Is Khabib's out. Yeah.
You can argue it was justified, though. You can argue it was pretty justified. And you know, people try to do the same thing with Chud, but it's so obvious what Chud is doing, right? It's so obvious he's trying to get that out of you. He's streaming it for thousands of people to see.
The reason it's not justified is Chud the Builder is not Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor was the MMA titan, was the figurehead, and was the spokesperson. Somebody that you should take seriously, right? You chill out when it's necessary and it makes sense, right? Asymmetrical warfare. Chipping out of this guy is just like, dude, you are letting them win. Now more racists are going to think that you're incapable of being civilized. So.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree. It's an important conversation. They don't want to have it, but it is important to talk about these things, and hopefully it becomes widespread. Hey, we should try to exercise some discipline. You know, I want intellectuals to fill the streets. I want Muslims to be intellectual. I want blacks to be intellectual. I want them to debate. I want them to share ideas. I want them to sit down at a table and talk about these things. That will further progression more than anything else. You know, we need the best of the blacks, the best of the Muslims to gain platforms, to sit at tables with the adversaries and dismantle them. That is it. You know, that is what's going to push the needle more than, and then getting powerful, obviously, right? But like that's something that an already certain group has figured out to a T. But you know, that's the second best thing there.
Yeah, I even would
And
say,
also-
go ahead, Martin.
No, I was just gonna say, like, if you look at like how blacks react versus how Jews react, what did the Jews do? They're intelligent. They get you canceled. They get you debanked. They hit you where it hurts. Versus like with the blacks, what do they do? Oh, we're gonna use violence. You go get punched in the face. We go find you. Like some idiot in my chat came in and said, I don't like the say about black people. Come to Minnesota and say that to my face. Let's see what happens. I'm like, all right, bro. You just confirmed the very stereotype that I literally been saying forever. You fuck. And it's like they're not even aware of their stupidity. So it's like, all right, dude, it is what it is. You guys can get mad at Chud the Builder all day or whatever, but like if I went to Brooklyn and I went to like, you know, where all the Jews are, and I started saying a bunch of things about Jewish people, I don't have to really worry about getting shot or attacked. But if I do that in Harlem, I might get shot or attacked. And that's the big difference is how does every group respond to getting, you know, stereotypical racist things thrown at them? There's only one group that's going to physically attack you, you know, viciously. Or the most likely to attack you viciously, and they don't want to they want to use this excuse of like, oh well, you're rage baiting or whatever. That still doesn't justify the response.
Right. Oh, you call me low IQ, emotional, and violent? Well, say that to my face, and I'm gonna punch you.
Literally proving
and prove
the
that I'm
point.
low IQ, emotional, violent. Like what? You know, and it's like everyone that's getting mad about the Chud shit. It's like, all right, bro, look, we're not sitting here saying like what he did is right or good. It is funny in some ways. I'm not gonna lie, because I think racism is funny, but I can see why people will be offended by it. But like to be offended by it and then respond with violence just isn't like, there's no justification for that. And the more facts that are coming out with this whole shooting, the more it's starting to look more like self-defense, bro. There's been like people that have been coming forward that were watching the actual stream and saw what went down, and went down the way that a lot of these people that were watching the actual stream and saw everything unfold. If it goes down the way that a lot of people are saying, he has a very strong self-defense case, bro. Very strong. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, if he was attacked, it's a stand your ground state. Obviously, you have all the antagonism and stuff. I know that plays as weight in the law and stuff, but
and for all the idiots out there, like I remember when I defended Nick Fuentes when he pushed that chick, and I was one of the few people that said, nah, it's self-defense, he's justified. And guess what? The case ended up getting dismissed because the prosecutor knew they didn't have anything on him, and it was a rational and justified use of force. And they obviously said, you know what? Let's go ahead and just plead it down to a smaller charge. You know, it is what it is. There's a reason why. So like, and I think he had to do like some community service and like
you said this. You were saying this before the second angle. You were saying this from the pepper spray angle before, because no one knew he even. You said it from the jump. No one even knew like he absolutely launched her down the fucking steps.
I called
you
it
were
from
saying
the
this
jump.
from the first video. Yeah.
I was one of the first people to say that is justified and it's self-defense and they can't do shit to him. And everybody like Poetic Flacco, which by the way, I saw you guys send me that video. I'll cook his fat ass here soon too. Don't worry. Like all these things come out.
I'm supposed to do an interview with him. He just reached out to me. You don't like him?
No. Do the interview. I'm gonna debate him on black issues because he thinks he knows what he's talking about. And he doesn't. He's a stuttering retard. So like because like now I got because he's like made several videos on me, because he also was one of these people that came out and said that I was wrong with the whole Nick Fuentes thing with when he shoved that woman, and I ended up being right about that shit. So no, bro, do the interview. I'm not a hater or whatever. It's just that he said that he wants to have a discussion with me on this topic. Cool, let's do a debate, because you do these pre-recorded videos, you stutter like worse than fresh. Let's go and have this discussion, bro. Because honestly, at this point, like this shit's starting to get ridiculous. He's made several videos on me. Like these kind of niggas are out of control. They're annoying as fuck. So
yeah,
let's see what happens when the rubber meets the road. Now you're forced to defend your fucking ideologies, this pro-black stupid bullshit that you say about victimization constantly and all this other shit. Let's see you defend it real time, live, without edits, without jump cuts, without any of that bull. Like this is annoying at this point now, because he made several videos on me on this topic. When I was there at No Jumper and we had this discussion, he couldn't say anything, right?
The victim mentality is a major sickness. It holds you back more than anything of the oppression that people talk about.
Hi there. Would you like to receive a gift? I'm a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and this is the Book of Mormon. It specifically talks about Jesus Christ.
It's insane. And it's like, all I said, they're mad because I went on a rant about why people are like supporting Chud the Builder.
Do you think that's good? I'm telling you, it isn't.
Or whatever. Like, these people can only get mad at me and say the shit they say, but like, I'm telling the truth that everyone else is scared to say. Like, it's not a mistake or it didn't come out of nowhere that Chud exploded in popularity, bro.
Anybody else says, hey, violence is not the answer, no violence. People think that's like some sort of virtue signal. No, it's actually a predetermined or really like an antidote, some sort of remedy, so you don't increase the diminishing image of your people or you as a whole. That's the whole point of it, because what do we see every time somebody's violent? Their race or their religion or their whoever they represent are blamed as a whole. You know, black guy does something, all blacks are blamed. White guy does something, all whites end up being blamed. So it's like you're also carrying the image of your people. You don't know if an instant can go viral. You don't know what can happen. That's why we say violence is not the answer, not to virtue signal like, oh, don't be violent, don't be violent. Like, yeah, there's some of that too, but it's also because when you are violent in response to something that isn't violent, you increase the diminishing image of your people or you as a whole. Go ahead, you push back.
I don't know if that's true. You know, the first thing in Chud the Builder's bio says Christ is king. And have you ever seen anyone said Christian streamer? Have you seen anyone mention Christian attacker, Christian harasser? No. Imagine if his first thing said Allahu Akbar. You know what everyone would be talking about?
No, you're totally right. You're totally right. However,
if Chud the Builder was a Muslim, if his name was Muhammad the Builder, if that was Ahmed the Builder, oh, bro, are you kidding? Every single one of us would be facing that. But he says Christ is king in the bio, and not one person on the entire internet points that out. And rightfully so, they shouldn't. He should not represent all Christians.
Some people have said, like, hey, bro, like, you can't be doing this in the name of Christ. I've seen some people say that.
No, they criticize him, but they don't associate him with all Christians, right? There's a negative perception about him, but people aren't using that to demonize Christians, right? If his name was Ahmed the Builder, best believe we'd all be
bro, I agree 100%. When I said the white guy thing, you do have to understand as well, though, like, white nationalism is also very, very dangerous to the power structure as well. Like, the whole, like, KKK thing, the real danger of it was not the anti-black part to the mainstream power structure, to, like, people who have influence. The most dangerous part of it was their anti-Semitic rhetoric. Like, that was the most dangerous. Like, white nationalism is seen as, like, oop, right away, Nazi, like, Hitler lover, like, get him out of here, take him out. So that's the dangerous with being, like, proud of being white. I will say, though, yeah, if he was, like, and that's why I say, like, if a white guy does something violent in the name of, like, maybe America First trying to represent Nick, immediately they're going to spin that on him. He's going to diminish the image of Groypers or, like, the America First movement. It's kind of like that similar parallel. But, you know, even in regards to if Chud the Builder was Muslim, no, 100%. Look, Muslims are a punching bag, bro. It's just too easy because it's like it's the most beautiful narrative. Like, Muslim guy, insert violent action, hits right away. It's like, oh, confirmation bias. Like, yep, that checks out. So it just plays into, like, the appetite of the brainwashed American public.
The Jewish supremacists.
No, just so you know, though, like, he's gonna when you do your discussion with Poetic or whatever, just make sure he's just gonna come in with all the Wakanda talking points. So get ready.
Okay.
Wakanda.
The Jewish supremacist sees Christianity. They don't see it as an enemy. They see Islam as the enemy. That's why it's demonized all the time. They see Christianity.
I would push back. I don't think that's entirely true. Go ahead.
Supremacist right now sees Christianity as a populist tool. Look at Erica Kirk and what her narrative has been since Charlie Kirk passed away. She wears the cross, she goes on stage, she cries, Charlie Kirk's death was sad, but anti-Semitism really hurts my feelings. Tommy Robinson does a protest, they start handing out crosses and people are waving, Christ is king, and they're going to get drunk at a soccer game right after because
Oh, I was 40. Sorry, guys. I just saw a post of Bayern Munich about Germany losing, and I was like, "Wait, did they play today? They lost in the 16th? No." I looked at when this was posted, it was 4 days ago, so it was still in the group stage. I was like, okay. Like, I'm not German, okay? But I was like, Portugal is, against Croatia, and from what we predicted, there's a high likelihood, that's how you say it? It's most likely, there you go, let me say it like this. And we're gonna play against Spain, France, England, Belgium, and stuff like that. So, very strong teams. And I'm like, Germany's out. I'm like, what? But no, it was in the group stage.
The FA Cup was the same day. Or the majority of these...
I do watch... I do agree that the FIFA and all that shit World Cup is a way to distract us. I do agree with that, but at the same time, I have that belief that I'm from Portugal. I want Portugal to win the World Cup. Like I have these two narratives, unfortunately.
People, are they going to church the next day? Let's be the vast majority of these people, absolutely not. They use it strategically to garner a movement and as a populist tool to create an us versus them mentality, to separate, to have, because this is how you always win, divide and conquer. You need to have a specific enemy, and it's always going to be the Muslims. The supremacy sees Christianity, and they're like, this is going to be my way to control the goal. I'm going to use this and be like, oh, we're the same. Judeo-Christian values. We're just like each other. I'm going to wave the flag next to the American flag, next to the British flag, and we're the same. It's the Muslims that are the problem. We're just like first world civilization. Christians, we love America.
Yeah, of course, there's a ton of that. That's partially correct, and I'll tell you why I agree and disagree. That's for evangelical Christian Zionism. However, true Christianity and an honest reading of the synoptics of the New Testament and how the Romans did what they did and who controlled the Romans, everything, right? That any Christian who has the true Catholic or Orthodox perspective of Christianity will immediately, via theology, be. And so that's actually a big danger to the civilization, because if you look at medieval Europe, they were expunged, they were expelled from these like Catholic crusaders. They were the ones who persecuted them. They were the first real anti-Semites. The diaspora spreads, or it really stems, its origins do come from like white nationalism counterbalance or white national Christian counterbalances like these crusaders, these Catholics. And so that's why people like Nick are so nuclear to them, because it's not that he's trying to revive that per se, but they see that parallel and it terrifies them, because that was the very thing that propelled them into not having a homeland for hundreds of years. And it was the Palestinians who actually welcomed the Jewish people in. It was the Ottoman Empire who actually gave them safekeeping in the mid-century. However, there is that same thing that exists with Islam. Look at the UAE. The UAE is locked in like this with it. They're doing their bidding in Sudan, in Libya, all else. The political officials and political analysts in the UAE are hurling threats at Iran, saying they're not Muslim, going against them, siding with the Jews. There's UAE political analysts who literally tweet out, I think his name is Amjad Taha, I can't remember his name. He says the Arab axis is real. We will side with the against the Muslim extremists. Mohammed bin Zayed, the leader of the UAE, had a press conference, I believe, at the UN, and he said something along the lines of, the UK needs to expel all the Muslims because there's real terrorism harboring within your own Western walls. And so he's siding with the against this like anti-Muslim position. And so there is some parallel between these like cucked Gulf nations and Israel. So this is what it does. They weaponize the Gulf Arabs. They do their bidding, like the UAE and all these other ones. I don't want to name too many because I want to go to these places one day. The UAE is already off the list for me. And then you also have the Christians, Erica Kirks, the Turning Point USA, the whole like kind of evangelical ideology as well. They both serve interests, but it's the real fundamental Islam and the fundamental Christians that are terrifying to the people. Today, though, the kinetic war is against the Muslims, but the media war, it's against like the nationalists and the Muslims and the white identitarians. That's the real issue. So it's like a little more convoluted.
No, sure. Netanyahu, he was on camera. He was reading this book about the against Rome, and he said, because we lost the last one against the Romans, we're not going to lose it again. They are afraid of that getting together. But my point is, like right now, I mean, like the vast majority of Western media, when they talk about Christianity, are they talking about Catholicism? No, it's demonized. Trump separated himself from the Pope. Even Tommy Robinson at his speech, he says the same thing. He says, we don't agree with the Catholic Church, because the Pope is saying we are against Iran war. The Pope is saying free Palestine. The Pope is in Algeria in the masjid saying, actually, we can coexist with Muslims. They hate that. They don't want to see the unity. And it does prophesize that in the end times, the Christians and Muslims are going to realize who the true enemy is and work together against these supremacists.
Isn't it crazy that these influencers are willing to go against their religious authoritarian if it means staying coincided with the talking points? Like, this whole MAGA administration has backstabbed their religion for the sake of defending it. Like, that is actually crazy. That's actually crazy.
their real religion is Trump. He just, what did he do? Erect a big gold statue right in Mar-a-Lago.
Well, he tweeted an image of him being Jesus too. That was crazy. That was like a few.
And then he
weeks
said,
back,
"Oh, actually, I was a Red Cross nurse." It's like, I've never seen a nurse look like Jesus. What hospitals are you going to? That's what they worship. They don't worship. They know nothing about Christianity. Look at his spiritual advisor, Paula White. They all put their hands on Trump and turn him into a deity. When Hegseth is trying to galvanize the people to go and fight this war, they say Trump anointed Jesus to put a light on Trump to go and fight this war. This is a holy crusade.
Yeah.
The religion isn't following Jesus. It's worshiping Jesus, really. I mean, like, look how the Bible was subverted for these evangelical Christians, for the Christians. Ted Cruz says, God must bless those that bless the state of Israel. It's like, why would Jesus want to bless a state that was created in 1948? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And you look into the origins of this and when it was written and who it was written by. And that's my point about why it's just seen and why it's used so much as a populist tool, because people are getting tricked. And I think there should be more support and a separation and distinction between Catholics and Orthodox and these crazy
and these, because they're completely different. They're not parallel. But no, you're right. I mean, look, Muslims are the axis of resistance, right? Like Iran, the IRGC, Hezbollah, like those are all Muslims, and they're the ones who are offering checks and balances to the power structure in the Middle East that is majorly controlled by Israel. So no, you're right as well. But there are two sides to it, and they're fighting a multi-front war on the media front and in real life, you know. So
Ja, ziet er goed uit.
Shut the fuck up. No, don't start this, please. Thank you.
They're spending more and more, and they're saving less and less. How do you explain to them, why is this taking so long in Iran?
Well, so I would say they seem like a long time from the perspective of other conflicts that we've seen in the past. It's only been weeks, not months, and certainly not years.
But longer than the president has told the American people.
Well, we achieved the missions of Epic.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be 96 hours.
Fury. We destroyed. There is no Iranian Navy. There is no Iranian Navy.
Bro. Why does he keep talking about the Navy, bro? We don't care. We all know the main points: nuclear, ballistic missiles, drones, and the Strait. We all know they are the main key points. Why the fuck do you keep talking about the fucking Navy? We don't care.
They keep saying this, and honestly, I don't even know if that's true because they still got the submarines, bro. They still have the shallow submarines, which they just started deploying out now. Like,
and by the way, arguably the speedboats were one of the main issues that drove the Navy destroyers out of the Strait of Hormuz. So it's like these,
and those speedboats are not a part of the Navy's. Those speedboats are part of the IRGC, by the way.
Yeah, and so like they're talking about how they like decapitated that part of the military. Like that part of the military is actually offering the most resistance to your plan and opening up the strait. So it's just funny.
Small little speedboats with a machine gun on it, but that's not a Navy. They're actual Navy, and they had a Navy. They had a Navy that had carriers on them.
So he admitted that those speedboats are not a part of the Navy.
Aircraft carriers traditionally, but the ones that could launch drones from those things are completely gone.
I understand, but the strait is closed. There's still uranium.
Well, the straits are closed is their reaction to the aftermath of Epic Fury. They decided they're going to take the world hostage. And my point is, what they're doing now with the straits, they would have done once they acquired a nuclear weapon, or once they built their conventional capabilities where they could hide behind to a certain level. Understand what I'm saying by this? If you have 20,000 missiles, you can't possibly shoot down 20,000 missiles. I mean, they would overwhelm your systems. Once they establish that point of immunity, not only could they hold the world.
Yeah, honestly, dude, they probably have. The people said that their stockpile's like 5,000 or 6,000. Dude, if Hezbollah has 100.
What I'm gonna do with this second, guys. I'm gonna do this so we can see Riyadh. We can still see the video properly. And if they end up, finishing the video, which probably is gonna happen. And they go back to the three webcams that they're using. I'll go back to the other thing.
50,000. Imagine how many these guys have.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if Hezbollah has over 100,000 like they claim, imagine how much the Iranians have.
The CIA said 75%, and the Iranians themselves said 120, right? And these stockpiles underground, man, they go deep. They go. Remember, we saw the videos.
Hostage with a nuclear.
Too many of them.
Their program. They could hold the world hostage with the straits. It's not the first time they've tried to control the straits. And what they're doing is illegal. It violates every law on the books in terms of international law.
Yeah, but they do it because you illegally attack the country. And you try to destroy the country. Like, in its entirety. Like, bro. What they're doing is defending themselves. After you decide to destroy them. With Israel. Like, bruh.
These countries in Europe and
well, if you see, it's kind of funny. We use international law and it benefits and not. You did a strike when Iran was not a threat to you whatsoever. According to international law, that is also illegal. Like
to talk about, they have militarized the straits. They are threatening to sink commercial vessels that don't pay them a toll. That's unacceptable to the whole world, not just to
Will
us.
Project Freedom return? Are we going to start bombing Iran again?
The reason why Project Freedom stopped was at the request of Pakistan. And they said, the Pakistanis said...
This is Epic Hope. That's not the reason why.
Not the reason. We know the reason why Operation or Epic Freedom, or whatever it's called, Epstein
Epic
File,
Fury.
Epic Freedom, Epic Fury.
Epstein Fury.
Project Freedom did not work. It's because Kuwait and Saudi Arabia...
Oh my gosh, bro.
...denied giving us access to the military bases and airspace, which we possess and had ownership of, which is why they're buffer states for us. They told us no when it mattered the most, and then the next day, after we seized their operation, then they said, oh, you can come use it now, as if that mattered.
And they also hit some destroyers as well with some missiles. Some missiles got hit with subsonic cruise missiles. That's another reason too why they had to back out.
If you guys stop Project Freedom, we think we can get to a deal. And so in the interest of diplomacy, the president would prefer to have a diplomatic solution to this problem with Iran. We went ahead and agreed to stop it. By the way, we agreed to...
See, this is how you know it's the Iranians' biggest grievance isn't them escorting ships. It's the blockade. The blockade is still going on, but they're not escorting the ships. Why are they not escorting the ships? Because they get hit with cruise missiles. Yeah. That's why. And drones. That is the real reason why they stopped Operation Freedom. It was putting the Navy in a significantly disadvantageous position where they can easily be attacked. Okay? That's why.
Stop it. We had destroyers.
This whole Pakistan is cope.
Inside the Persian Gulf. We said, okay, we're going to stop. We're moving our destroyers out. They get fired upon by the Iranians. And that's the activity you saw last week. We still...
And again, guys, they always say in every war, the first casualty is truth. Both sides are lying, right? Both sides. The United States as well as the Iranians. They're never going to tell you the real reason why. Right, they do certain things, or why they made military decision a lot of times. They're gonna say it in a way that's the most face-saving.
The president strongly prefers a diplomatic solution. We're gonna continue to try to work on one. We've given this regime in Iran every opportunity to reach one. But part of the problem we're having, frankly, is they're divided internally. Within Iran, they're divided internally, and it makes it hard to get counter proposals from them.
On that point, is the new...
They're not divided, actually. They're actually close together than ever. What are you on about? They're more closely together than ever. They just, every single time they know, they're not dumb. They're just, every single time they go to a peace treatment, they get backstabbed. Why would they go for peace treatment again? Like, what? Stupid. Hello?
Ayatollah, part of...
My keyboard just... Okay, so my keyboard just turned off. That's odd.
Yep. My mouse just turned... Okay, there you go.
It's turning on, okay. I was like, what the fuck? Like, looking at my keyboard is turned off, and look at my mouse turned off. I was like, what the fuck just happened? And yeah, it's update, okay.
Any part of this negotiations, do you have any evidence, is there any understanding that the new Ayatollah is active in advising Iranians' leadership?
Well, I think what's clear is that the people we're negotiating with, like their foreign minister, is not the decision maker. So he has to go back to their system. Now, whether that's a council, the supreme leader, or what have you, it's not clear.
During the ceasefire talks right around the beginning, or really middle of April, when J.D. Vance joined the Middle Eastern envoy, there were reports that Abbas Araghchi, Mohammad Ghalibaf, and the rest of the delegation were calling the supreme leader during the decision-making process to get the final say. The same thing that the U.S. delegation was doing to Trump. And he has all the shots. The supreme leader calls all the shots, which is why their demands have stayed maximal despite them potentially wanting to cave because of how much economic pressure they've faced. And also, really quick, Marco Rubio says Trump has been desperate to chase diplomatic efforts. He wants to end this diplomatically. Then why did he block their blockade? Why did he block their ports? It's because he wants to exacerbate the issue. He wants to restart the war. He just needs a plausible reason to do it. Why did he try Project Freedom? He was banking that Iran would actually strike a U.S. vessel or hit the Gulf, so he had another reason to restart the war. So he's not desperate for diplomacy. He's desperate for another war. He wants to finish this.
Nouveau Magnum signature la pistache et la pêche.
We don't care. Dog shit.
But he goes back to someone. and gets approval for what he's allowed to agree to and what not to agree to. In many cases, the feeling is we are negotiating with someone who then has to turn around and negotiate with someone.
Well, you know, it's kind of funny because Iranians on their side said J.D. Vance was making more phone calls than they did to talk to Trump.
Well,
to get it.
Bro, the thing is,
J.D. Vance was there and Trump was at fucking UFC with this guy, getting drunk.
Marco Rubio.
Yeah, Marco drunk.
Faded.
I say we block the blockade. What do you think, Mr. President?
Yeah, we blocked the blockade. You know what? That's a good idea. Like, bro, that's probably they probably came up with that because the blockade happened after the UFC fight, if you guys remember.
After. Yeah.
In his own system and his own country. So oftentimes it takes 4 or 5 days to get responses from the Iranian side. That's been an impediment here. It also, I think, is insight to the weakness of this regime at this point and what they're facing internally. But nonetheless, we're going to keep working at it because we'd like to see a diplomatic solution. That is our preference. I'm not going to talk about what the options that the president has. He has options to do other things if these diplomacy fails, but we're going to give diplomacy every chance to succeed.
How much longer are Americans going to have to wait?
Well, I won't put a timeline on how long it'll take to reach a diplomatic solution.
Course.
We want to reach one. I think what has to happen, irrespective, is the straits have to be reopened. Understand, once again, just to reiterate, what they have decided is there's this international waterway. It doesn't belong to them.
But can that happen without Iran's cooperation? Can that happen?
Well, it can happen one of two ways. It can happen because the world, either Iran decides to do it, or the whole world decides to impose a cost on them for what they're doing. And the whole 100-something countries at the UN have signed up and said we are against what they're doing. I think the job now is to get them to actually do something about it. Are they willing to diplomatically isolate Iran? Are they willing to impose sanctions on Iran to force them to remove those mines and stop shooting at ships that are going through the straits? Because let's be clear, it's hurt our consumers. There's no doubt about it, okay? We are not immune to global oil prices at some point because we do buy from the global market. But other countries around the world are paying a much higher price. They have as much or more to care about the straits than we do. They've got to get involved in this as well.
As the president was leaving for China.
That's so disgusting.
That's why a lot of them why a lot of them are lining up though to work with the Iranians instead of fight them though.
So disgusting.
Japan, a bunch of our allies are lining up to work with them.
We cucked for it. Exactly, sorry. We cucked for it. Our soldiers are likely going to die for it if we start a ground element, which is critical for seizing the uranium that we're starting this war over, we're hell-bent about. And NATO and the EU not joining is a fault in of their own. And so, forget them. They're paper tigers. They don't want to help us die for the state. Well, then, you know what? They're not our allies anymore. It's like just disgusting. And he's doing this whole thing. Iran's ambitions are growing. They're going to charge for the internet cables. They're going to make more money. They're towing the ships. It's just like, it falls on his face every single time, no matter how you slice it. You can keep going.
If you break it down, especially with everything we discussed today, there's so many elements to point to that the American empire is slowly collapsing because of this, and people are going to say that's anti-American, but look at that. We gave up a lot of power to China.
It's falling.
We lost so many of our allies. We gave up our power in the Middle East, where our economy is in shambles. This was a major, major loss in every single aspect, but if we talk about, if you don't support the war, they say that you're the anti-American, but analyze it properly. This is where an empire starts collapsing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what Xi Jinping was referring to. He brought up the Thucydides, whatever it's called, some theory where like when the rising power goes against the main power, if the main power does not concede and give that authority or really give the grace to the rising power, war always happens. And so he was loosely trying to imply in simple terms, Xi Jinping pretty much said in front of Trump and the whole administration, we're going to fight at some point and you better accept we'll be better than you because if you don't, there will be war. That's literally what he told us. And as he's telling him that, we're in a forever war that's draining our pockets in the Middle East. $25 billion, probably going to be close to 50 by the end of the summer. All for what? You know, they know this. You can keep going.
Did he make a mistake when he told a reporter that America's financial situation isn't playing, quote, even a little bit of a role in his motivations to make a deal with Iran?
No, I think what the president is claiming.
I remember when he said that.
That
pissed a lot of people off.
Use that
Doesn't that sound out of touch, though? I mean, Americans are spending so much for gas.
Because I think what the president is making clear is that we're not going to let Iran use that as leverage. Think about what the Iranians are thinking. The Iranians, and they watch this. Remember, there's no free press. There is no you in Iran, right? There is no press in Iran that can criticize the regime or say, create any pressure on them. And I think what the president's making clear is if the Iranians think that they are going to, use our domestic politics to pressure him into a bad deal. That's not going to happen.
That's a good answer,
We're taking extraordinary measures to keep gas.
Yeah, see, this what
he's coping, but he's running cover for Trump's.
I'm telling you, bro. I'm trying to tell you, he's more polished.
That's a smart answer. It's like, it's strategic in wartime. That's why he's saying he doesn't care about our finances.
I'm telling you, he spits the hot bar out real smoothly.
Yeah, see how this is the thing, bro. Remember, we're educated on this topic. We're like, okay, that's a good thing. Imagine if you're like a Fox News viewer only and you don't watch alternative media, you don't watch, other types of media and figure out what the hell's going on and you don't understand foreign policy. Bro, this would sound like gospel to you. Like, you know what I mean? You gotta, like, I try to put myself in the shoes of like an average American. They're gonna listen to this like, damn right, yeah.
That's
like
true,
they don't
yeah,
know
true.
like what the fuck
Yeah.
is going on in the Middle East. A lot of these idiots don't even know where Iran is on a map, and that goes for both idiotic academic fans that are apes, and then as well as dumb white niggas in the Midwest. Like,
you have beef with that?
I understand.
Academics fans.
No,
got
no, I
these
love
strings.
Ack. I love
No,
Ack. His fan base is just.
Talk about the fans only.
Yeah, I love Ack, but like his fan base is by far the dumbest bunch of fuck.
Yeah. Great ads.
But
fucking
anyway,
too.
yeah,
Great
but like
ad, bro.
it goes both sides. You got the dumb hillbilly
Dog
niggas in the
shit
Midwest
fucking
that don't know what's
algorithm.
going on. Then you got the don't even know what Iran is. You're thinking about cardio when you say Iran. Idiots.
Prices lower than they are in some other parts of the world, and
He probably was, bro. Lots of these politicians were lawyers before.
Yeah, bro. Like, you know, he'll be able
it
to
will
make
go
his
down.
case for
Those
all
straits
this
will be
bullshit.
open, and we will see those
Oh, go ahead.
prices go down. And
Yo, what food did you get there, Sneeko?
Talking tacos, actually. The halal tacos. They have it in New York, too.
Oh shit. Okay, I didn't know they had those in New York. All right, that's good.
He was ready to
I think
roast me.
even
Thought I got an
systematically-
acai bowl or something.
Who, me?
What did you think I got?
Wait, what's wrong with acai bowls?
I
What
don't
the
know.
fuck?
Probably some fried food. There's some Asian food or some shit like that. Some Caribbean bowl. Some jerk chicken or some other funky shit like that.
You see how every day I get racially profiled for a different race? It's like you got the academics fans saying that I'm not, that I'm a sellout. He's saying that I'm eating fried chicken. I can't win. You know, in the Philippines, they thought I was a white guy. I'm never gonna. Anyway.
Yo, I don't want to
Really?
derail. We'll go right back to Rubio. I swear to God. Yo, do you cook? You just order all your food, right?
I have never used my oven once in over a year and a
crazy,
half in this
bro.
apartment. Never.
Myron hasn't either. That's crazy.
Yeah, nah. Nah.
Broke, you can't relate. All right, just keep going.
Nico, you better still be lifting, bro. Going to the gym. You better not be slacking, man.
I went to the gym yesterday. Not today, though. I went yesterday.
Okay, fire.
All right.
production
Yeah.
oil
Let's
over
get a
time
gym session,
because all of
nigga.
that pent
Okay, swole, looking big,
Let's do
looking
it.
big, looking big.
up oil that's being held hostage by Iran, once that reaches the marketplace, it'll have a very positive impact. But I would also say there's a price attached to a nuclear Iran. If Iran ever acquires a nuclear weapon, they will immediately, what would stop them from controlling the straits then? And then forget about it being a 3-month or a 6-month problem. It could be a permanent one.
I want to turn to Cuba now. The State Department just re-upped the offer of $100
Ooh, here we go. This is going to be a good one.
million in aid to Cuba. Cuba's foreign minister says that's an absolute lie, that there is no money coming. Are there any strings attached to that $100 million in aid?
The only strings attached is that they have to be distributed by non-governmental sources like the Catholic Church. I was at the Vatican last week. I spoke with the Catholic Church again. They're willing to play that role.
So what's the holdup? Cuba's lying?
Cuba. They're their holdup. They're lying. They lie all the time.
Yeah, so he was there, just like you said, Riyadh. He was there to obviously, kind of calm the waters with the whole Pope situation, and then also to facilitate this potential $100 million aid. And it's kind of crazy because the CIA director, Ratcliffe, went down there.
Which is very
talk about
unorthodox. Yeah, that was
Fucking
crazy.
weird.
Yeah.
CIA director?
No, we
Like,
choked
what?
we choked Cuba to death. It's I mean, a 5-year-old could tell what's about to happen from here on out. It's pretty obvious. We cut off
Can you
the
say
oil
it's not a-
supply. They get 2 hours of power a day. They're cooked.
Crazy.
And Rubio's Cuban, which I think we seem to forget. This guy, that's his homeland. And look
Yeah.
at how he's getting. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've always said like diaspora Cubans are kind of like diaspora Iranians. Like they're not as, but they're
it's
equivalents.
It's worldwide. At the Tommy Robinson protest, there are British guys saying, "Trump, come save the UK." Venezuelans, Iranians, Cubans, British people were chanting USA, USA, begging Trump to help them. Like US wasn't the colony that seceded from the UK. It's so funny how they don't know any of their history. It's diasporas around the world, man. Trump has got the goyim in his chokehold.
The thing
Yeah,
about
bro.
people who
You
are
people
void
don't
of
know
a
shit.
void
No,
of a
people don't
homeland,
care.
they're so susceptible to
What's
propaganda. So, of course, there's always the infiltration from the various
And let's
powerful
keep in mind-
Zionist talking points to shift their opinions.
Like the other thing too, like when you look at like these diaspora Iranians, etc., like them for example, a lot of them like their families fled because the regime, the Islamic revolution, like kicked their family out because they were Shah-Tard employees or some other like that. So they're obviously going to have generations of like pent up anger and frustration with that government, and then like it never leaves them. So like when they're in Sweden, the United States, whatever, and they're waving around the flag like some cheering for the U.S. to destroy their former country. They don't know better. They haven't been there. They're out of touch. Same thing with Cubans, bro. are out of touch as well when they're here in the United States. And like, look, I get it. You know, it is what it is, but I do think it's a little weird for you to be a citizen of the United States or a citizen of one of these Western countries, and then like, you know, try to sit there and be like, okay, I know what's best for my old homeland that I haven't been there in forever. Like, bro, like you're not a nationalist for your country, nigga. What the fuck? Like, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So
very true.
Yeah, like you have. It's like Patrick Bet-David, for example. I call him a shot card. Like he's a perfect shot card. Like, you know, bro, you haven't been there since you were 10 years old. You obviously, you're completely out of touch. I don't think you're in a position to really talk about local politics in the country that you were a child in and your family fled from or were kicked out of. You know, so
it's an inferiority complex. They are begging for approval from daddy, who they think is in charge. They want to be accepted so badly. Little do they know that you're never going to be accepted. It's like nobody wants you.
Yeah.
True. So to them privately, we're not making it public. There's a
parents, so they're so annoying. It's like every group. I don't want to call out every group and get people mad, but these groups that like that, actually, I don't care. Like Assyrians and stuff, like. They're great people, but they get annoying with that shit, bro. It's like, yo, bro, like you're losing the plot. But I digress.
Yeah, y'all no nation, bro. Fuck out here. Like, yo, they're like Puerto Ricans, bro. They all this national pride with no country, man. Shut up.
$100 million. By the way, we've given them humanitarian aid. After the hurricane, we provided them $6 million of humanitarian aid, $3 million of which was distributed.
Yeah. How much?
$3 million of which is still being held up. But it's
6 million. So you're telling me you're giving like billions and billions to Israel to attack most of the whole Middle East and go to war with every fucking country in the Middle East, but you give them 6 million. So that seems fair.
Not that, Myron.
Now we're saying.
I think he said 3 billion.
No.
Hold on. Willing to play that role.
So what's the you missed it?
Cuba. They're hold up.
It's
they're lying. They lie all the
billions.
time.
How much aid?
How can he say it's not a real offer? We've made it to them privately. We're not making it public. There's $100 million. By the way, we've given them humanitarian aid. After the hurricane, we provided them $6 million of humanitarian aid.
Oh!
Okay. 6 million.
$3 million of which was distributed. $3 million of which is still being held up. But it's
sure, that's anti-Semitic to notice that.
Available for them. Now we're saying here's $100 million of humanitarian aid. So I don't know if they watch your broadcast in Cuba, but if they are, the Cuban people should know there's $100 million of food and medicine available for them right now. And the only reason it's not reaching the Cuban people is because
strings attached.
The only string attached is it has to be distributed by I don't want non-governmental organizations.
Yeah.
This can't be humanitarian aid that the government steals for itself.
In a year, will someone named Diaz-Canel or Castro be in charge in Cuba?
I don't know. I hope not, because if they are, then Cuba will probably not have progressed.
But is there still a plan for change in Cuba?
Sure. I mean, look, the change in Cuba is their economy doesn't function. It's not a functional economy.
No, I get that, but what is the U.S. plan? Don't understand the U.S. plan.
Well, I wouldn't tell you exactly what our plan is.
To take over and run the sphere of influence, bro. They want to kick out the Chinese and the Russians. That's the number one thing. Cuba, for a very long time, has been, a lot of people don't know this, the Cubans have a very robust and good intelligence program, and they've had it for a very many long time. And what the Cubans specialize in is they get intel from us, they steal intelligence from us, and they give it to all of our adversaries.
Yeah.
This is why they're such a critical component for the Russians and the Chinese. Cuban counter-espionage, bro, or counterintelligence is very, very good.
No, they're
know what our plan is, but our plan for Cuba is
50 miles off the coast of Florida. So I mean, I'm not like
Cuban sellers secrets in the black market.
Bro, Cuban regime change versus Iranian regime change, like you could make a very good argument for Cuban regime change. You couldn't for Iran. So that's just true.
Yeah.
Prosperous future. That's what we want. It's in our national interest. And to have a prosperous Cuba, not to have a failed state 90 miles from our shores.
Translation, a prosperous Cuba under our auspice only.
Right, a failed state from our shore. Wait, so then what about Haiti? Like, why is that not an issue for them? A failed state 90, how many miles from the shore? It's the exact same. If they actually cared about saving
it, retarded, and they can't distill.
Well, they don't have intel. They don't give intel to Russia. That's not. But he's posing it like he's going to be the hero of the Western Hemisphere.
Niggas are doing voodoo, bro. Too busy doing voodoo to steal intel to become valuable, man. Niggas are retarded. Sorry, bro.
Bro, I want to make fun of Sudan so bad, but it's just like, that's too touchy. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
No,
I'm not going to do it. When I saw, bro, I thought it when Myron was talking about people don't have a state, I was like, wait, didn't Sudan just separate into two? But it's like, you know what? That's the free Sudan.
What? No, that's South Sudan. You're thinking of 2010. No. Yeah. Sudan's definitely not, we don't have no diaspora shit going on. We're just getting absolutely cooked with quote unquote civil war, aka the UAE funded proxy, the RSF. The UAE is pretty much Sudan to death. That's what it is. You know. So
but still better than Haiti though.
Cubans, you know this, you understand this as well as I do because of where we come from. Cubans are successful.
No, it
everywhere.
is. Hey, way better.
Is it?
Yeah,
is
it's far more developed.
God put us out the voodoo niggas with the earthquakes, man. And
Bro, I mean, do you really want to do that? And I'm gonna look at people are gonna chill out because if I say something about Sudan, like that's what's gonna happen.
People, no.
Do I have to start making fun of? Do I need to make fun of that? Like, if I respond properly, then I'd be making fun of genocide. I'm not gonna do it.
No. Sudan pre-war or post-war? What are you talking about? Even
right now,
it still might mog Haiti, bro. Infrastructure-wise, development-wise, IQ-wise, I think Sudan's better, bro. Khartoum,
and they're
infrastructure-wise right now,
bro. Haiti is a voodoo nigga.
Bro, the RSF has pretty much left the capital. They're just kind of remnants in the provinces and stuff, and they're still launching these drone attacks. But Sudan,
there's no drone attacks. There's no drone attacks in Haiti. There's no drone attacks in Haiti.
Yeah, you niggas don't need it. It's still cooked. But listen.
So you need the attacks? That sounds like the Iranian diaspora. Really, you needed to be attacked by the UAE?
No, I'm just saying Sudan started to suffer from an infrastructure perspective after the Gulf Arabs started fucking us. But before that, we were chilling.
Okay, yeah. There's no Arabs messing around in Haiti. Like, there's no drones. There's no, there might be some voodoo and some stuff going on, an earthquake or something, but there's no attack. I mean, to compare, it's like, are we really doing this right now?
Well, no, you're okay. Wait, maybe I'm misconstruing what you're saying. I'm saying Sudan has suffered as a result of like UAE intervention, like destroying the country.
Yeah.
Which is why it is what it is now, contrary to what it was like over 4 years ago when the war first started. But like, what has led to Haiti's demise? Why are they so behind?
Bro, like, it was like a part of the clean break memo, man. The Jews and the U.S. were involved in destroying Sudan, bro. But did the destroy Haiti now, bro? There's no value over there.
Well, you don't know about the Clinton Foundation. You don't know how the U.S. has been also doing regime change there, killing the leaders there with different proxy groups.
I've heard of that. I'm not privy to it. I'm not educated on it. So if that's the case, all right, fine. I give you good grace.
I don't want to get clipped and people are going to say that I'm anti-Sudan.
Me too. And
my black PR is in the gutter right now, so I'm going to leave Sudan alone.
We love Sudan.
We love Sudan.
Great people.
They actually are. But no, all right.
Yeah.
Get back.
Yeah, for sure.
Cuba.
For sure.
And so that's what we want. We want Cubans not to have to leave that island in order to be successful. But they can't, because the current model they have it's not just them, it's broken. It doesn't work, and it'll never change as long as the people that are there now are running it. They are closed-minded, unfortunately. I hope I'm wrong. I would love for them to come to their senses and say, okay, we recognize this really has to change, and it has to change big. But right now, they don't seem to be indicating that. They seem to be digging in.
I have only a few more questions. I think we're getting close to time, but I'm going to be honest with you because I have the timer here.
Oh, wait, hold on, pause real quick. Where do you think is more likely for a Mr. Beast video to dig some wells in, Sudan or Haiti? I think Mr. Beast is going to Sudan way quicker than he would go to Haiti, and I don't mean that as a compliment. So that is all I need to say without being disrespectful. Let's be real. When Chris Tyson going to show up digging a hole to try to get some water, and it's not going to be it's going to be in your homeland. So
I honestly think he would actually go to Haiti. He would not go to Sudan. He would go to Haiti.
Haiti's been fucked since inception of humankind, nigga. I don't think Haiti's ever had like advancement. I'm actually cooking it. I love Haitians. Wait, this is bad. Just keep doing the interview. Actually, I just realized what I was doing.
This is not helping. We're gonna get. They're gonna. You understand the FBAs are gonna call us all.
It was all a joke.
Right?
It was all a joke. It was all a joke. We're Sneeko. This is we're doing the bit, right?
No, they're not gonna care because we're tethers anyway, bro. They're gonna say tethers, right?
Yeah,
like
we don't have ancestors here. Yo, I did a DNA test, Sneeko. I'm 95% Sudanese, nigga. Purebred. Okay.
What's the other 5?
Ashkenazi. It's a joke. No, it's Egyptian, Arab Peninsula, and Italian Maltese, and then Cypriot.
Voor mijn echte.
Bro, he's a shit fucking algorithm, bro. I hate you too, bro.
Me? I mean, I'm Sudan.
What do you mean me? You guys have the same DNA. You guys have the same exact genetic makeup, right?
So there's admixture, yeah. So after the 7th century Arabization of like Northern Africa, that's why we took in Islam because of trade, and then we became more Arab as a result. But there's different tribes in Sudan, and they have different DNA makeups. Like, for example, obviously my brother got far more of the Arab gene than I did, which you can get different DNA passed down from either parent. Like, I got like just the Afro, like the pure black gene. Yeah, I got the nigga genetics. He really, like, his hair and everything, like, he really looks Arab. Like, you would think this nigga is like from Saudi Arabia, like from the deserts of Saudi Arabia, but like I didn't get any of that. He should do it next.
I thought he was. I thought Myron was a really tall Indian when I first met him. I didn't think he was.
He's gonna black out on you.
And that was rage bait. That was rage bait. I knew that was gonna work too. I knew that, bro. I want Myron to chip out so bad over that. I thought
he was about to lose his shit.
Call me a G, bro. Call me a G, or what are these? Thank you. Come again, nigga. Fuck out of here.
He's
That's
chipping out. He's chipping out.
I'm Indian out. I'm G. You know. That's actually your fan base. Don't you got a bunch of Indian in your chat, bro?
Shout out to all the Indians, all the Pakistanis. Do you know that the Philippines was Muslim before the Spanish came and colonized it, and there was a lot of forced conversions?
There's still a lot there. There's still a lot of Muslims. Yeah, I knew that. There's still a lot there.
Yeah, a lot. About 6%. About 6%.
Those are your people. Filipino Muslims.
Yeah. Dude, I didn't know a lot of that. I learned so much when I was on that tour. You know, the capital, Manila, used to be called Aman Allah before the Spanish came in 1547. That was the name of the capital city. Yeah. And then they flip like this. The Philippines just gets colonized over and over and over again.
I ain't gonna lie, Spanish niggas was not rocking with Islam. Southern Spain too, Andalus, like Islam spread far and wide. A lot of Spanish conquest removed its influence from Europe. That's why it couldn't.
Spain used to be Muslim. Spain itself was Muslim.
That's what I'm saying. Andalus, yeah, that's what it was called. That's what it was called. No, we'll get back to Rubio, but Sudanese, it is complicated. They're technically it's on the cusp of sub-Saharan, but then again, we were like coincided with Egyptians. So like they're Arab and they're black. It just depends on the tribe and like a certain Sudanese. Some Sudanese look
What's
like
the average Sudan IQ? Myron definitely. What is it?
I'm not gonna lie, that shit might be below.
You don't know that?
I don't know. I could look it up. You got it. Not South Sudan.
Wait, I don't think there's good enough data. Wait, can we get back to the
IQ in Sudan average is between 71 and 77. Okay, let's see Haiti.
He just hit a soundboard too. Check Philippines.
What about Haiti? Bro, Haiti's lower, bro. Haiti average is 6'7".
That's oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
dude,
wait,
do you know that's clinically what is it like 65
is that really
right?
What's IQ?
It's 60, 65.
Oh no, an IQ between below 70 and 75 is mental. No, there's not enough data. This is racist white supremacist.
Here we go. Yeah, that's what they all say.
It's inconclusive.
Okay. Yeah,
IQ scores are rigged to support white supremacy.
Yeah. Whatever. No, I think Sudan is like somewhere in like the 75. But yo, okay, this is gonna sound so biased, bro. I swear, wallahi, God is.
Wait, aren't you? Wait, so you guys are actually? You guys were.
Off. Listen,
it's not us. But yeah, a lot because I look like us are. Admit that.
Bro, no, but I'm saying this without bias. I would never hesitate to admit the truth. Like, in your chat, let's see if your chat can account for this, Sneeko, because you have I think a large Muslim audience. Sudanese
mostly
people,
Christian. It's mostly Christian.
Really? Okay. Sudanese people, in my experience, they're actually pretty smart. I'm not trying to. They're actually Northern Sudanese people are pretty smart. Okay.
Classic Sudanese using anecdotal evidence.
I'm telling you. I would admit if they were Now, I can't say the same for Haitians. I got met a couple Haitian niggas. They weren't smart.
Haitians. Okay, you're calling Haitians. You're calling my people were the first independent slave nation.
Okay. It's good you guys freed yourselves from the shackles first, I suppose.
Yeah, but those French got the lick back with them earthquakes, nigga.
2 centuries later, but we were the OG Django Unchained. Okay, we left Master's house on fire.
Oh my gosh.
Bro, could deal with the devil to be free, and now y'all are free for real. The Richter scale. Not
yeah, it's like a fucking it's like a PS4 chat at 2 a.m. nigga.
Bro, I don't know what curse you got to get the Jews to like commit a genocide there. It's like, do you want me to say that?
They
like,
want our gold. They want our gold.
Of...
Does Haiti have resources? Sudan has tons of gold.
Does Sudan have Rukia? If you had Rukia, maybe the Jews wouldn't be. You know, I don't want to get clipped, bro. I don't want to get clipped.
You need Rukia. You're the one who has all the voodoo doll in your island. You need the fuck exorcism in your island. We're chilling. Sudan doesn't have a black magic problem. We just have a Gulf Arab problem. Anyways, all right. We're derailed.
Going back to China, did the president bring up the case of Jimmy Lai?
The president always raises that case and a couple others. And obviously, we'll hope to get a positive response from that. But and you know, some of these things are best handled outside of the spotlight, but it was raised. Those issues are always raised in our meetings.
Would the U.S. provide a safe haven for Jimmy Lai if China were to release him? Could he come to the United States?
I think we would like to see him released. The president's made that point publicly and in other meetings. We hope the Chinese system will be responsive to that, and we'd be open to any arrangement that would work for them as long as he's given his freedom. It's really at this point a humanitarian situation because of his age and health.
Yeah, 78. Two more questions. There was a tweet that went viral. It was put out by communications staffer Steve Chung. It showed you in a Nike tracksuit, and it said that you were on Air Force One wearing the Nike Venezuela gear. Something
With
to that
the
effect, I think,
Maduro
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he had the nigga outfit on, the New York City special.
Yeah,
Was that some type of?
Yeah.
No, it's a
Were you trying to set a sign? What's the con?
You're
What?
frozen. You're frozen.
Oh, I'm frozen? Oh, okay. I'll fix it.
Text for
There's
that.
no context.
He looks locked in.
Yeah,
Bro, you're doing the hands when you're frozen. Did you see that, chat? He was frozen on the Oy Vey hands.
I'm so cooked. Okay, there we go. We got you.
Was maybe making a joke, but he was surveying the audience. And I know you're Secretary of State. You don't like to talk about your political future. But he asked a group of supporters to clap if they liked Vice President J.D. Vance or if they liked you better. It sounded like it was pretty even. What do you think about that? Would you want to be president?
No, look, I know this is going to sound like a typical job. I'm going to be in this job for the next 2.5 years. I'm going to do that job. I'm going to finish the job for this president. I'm enjoying it very much. I think we're going to make a lot of good things happen. JD is a very good friend of mine. If JD runs for president, I think he'd be a phenomenal candidate. I've said publicly, and I'll say it again, I'll be the first person to sign up and support him. I think JD would do great.
Would you want to be a vice president?
I want to be the Secretary of State, and I'll worry about the future in the future. I'm not saying, I'm not telling you that that's what I'm aiming for. I've been doing this for a long time, too. I was in the Senate starting in 2010, so I'd like to do some other things in my life at some point, although public service is an honor to be able to be in.
Good answer, though.
Okay. I do want to ask you, because we did so much reporting on Chinese EVs. There's two arguments against Chinese EVs in the U.S. One, from automakers, it'll cripple the industry because they're so cheap. But elected leaders have also said it's an issue of national security. Do you truly believe if China's EVs come to the U.S., it's an issue of national security?
Yes, because it'll wipe out.
Yeah, because they're better than Teslas, way better and cheaper. Because Elon Musk is a the
EV. It's all of the other things that go into.
Does he actually do any engineering, or does he just tweet all day? When does he have time to engineer if he's tweeting all day long?
Bro, he is the biggest fraud ever. This guy, Greg Reese, did a fantastic expose on him, bro. Like, Elon Musk is the type of guy, like, he's just been able to put himself in positions to just steal other people's work, bro. That's really what it is. He's not as intelligent or as brilliant as he claims to be or purports himself to be. He's one of the biggest frauds ever, bro. He's just been there to kind of, take people's work, put his name on it, and be like, yeah, man, that's me. Like,
he's like a South African Winklevoss twin, essentially just taking the formula away. Or no, like Zuckerberg from the Winklevoss people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Zuck stole it from the Winklevosses. Yeah. So it's just like, bro, that's just what he's been able to do, is like he's been able to, steal it, put it under his brand. It's my idea. And that's what it is. Like, Elon Musk is like, this is why he has like that very bad millennial humor. Like, let me go into Twitter with the sync to say, let it sink in, like corny shit like that, man. Like, he just tries really hard to be like funny and edgy and what's the word I want to use here?
Quirky.
He's like quirky, and he's also like, he's very similar to Donald Trump, where he needs public praise all the time.
Yeah, he does.
Trump is funny. Elon. Well, I like Elon Musk. I think he's really funny. Shout out to X. I love free speech. He's good, man, and all good, man. I love Grok and the hentai porn.
Fuck off. It's gonna be an ad. Fuck's sake. It's the last video of the stream. Or do we have time? Unfortunately, we don't, so that sucks. I don't have time. If I had more time, I'd react to this video. It's a pretty recent one. Wait, what? So guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. We did a lot. We did a little update about what's going on, why there's no peace deal, why they decided to attack Iran again. Because the religion, one of the main components to make the peace deal is no more war in Lebanon, which Israel is continuing to do so. So in consequences, there's no peace deal. I mean, it makes sense. The logic follows through. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Don't forget to follow me on Kick. We're trying to reach 800 followers. Not only that, we're trying to get verified. So I'd appreciate you guys if you participate on the stream by talking in chat, watching the stream, or dropping a sub. We do stream on YouTube as well. We're trying to reach 100 subs. Currently at 93 subscribers, so I'd appreciate you if you guys subscribe to my YouTube channel. Go check out the additional content I give to you guys on other social media. So don't forget to follow me everywhere and enjoy all the content I give to you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Peace.